Welcome to This Dumb Week, a weekly live Twitter space hosted by Alex Marinos and yours truly, Dr. RollerGator. Available in podcast form on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, and others. Alex, welcome back. Have you had a sufficiently dumb week?
I think we've been trending on the medium-term average for dumbness this week. Yeah,
I think
dumb.
it's been dumb, but moderately dumb, not insanely dumb. I even with the launch of the UFO files, I think that it has been mild. That's my.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't put absolute numbers on it. And definitely nothing that is implying low or not extreme. I'm just saying it's
well,
on
perhaps our taste buds have gotten accustomed to the level of capsaicin that we've been the dumb capsaicin levels. Our Scoville level here as an analogy here is made us sort of immune.
Have you ever been to the UK or Canada for that matter?
I've been to Canada, which is slightly different than the UK. I would imagine they drive on the correct side of the road in Canada still. But go on.
At least in Vancouver, there's a restaurant that I got acquainted to in the UK. I don't know if it's a whole Canada phenomenon. It's called Nando's, and you get to choose you on the menu you choose whatever you want, and then there's an independent dimension which is like how spicy do you want it. So I feel like we could do this for this dumb week. How dumb do you want?
Yes.
How dumb can you take?
Well, on the production side, Alex, with our experiment last week with doing a live video feed of this as well, I've made a couple of adjustments in the interim to make my production job easier as I do this all in real time live. And I have triggered it so that when video clips play, the feed switches to the video clips and then automatically switches back to the static placeholder as the video clips end. So I no longer have to micromanage that. Plus, I made sure that the quack button, as I demonstrated to you in a recording, is now in both visual and audio formats. So
this is the new robotically enhanced RollerGator. Is that what we're gonna experience this week?
Correct. Yeah, that is correct. Every couple days, I am adding new features to my body. I'm augmenting it with additional technology. I'm becoming an android of sorts. And so, without further ado, Alex, I think we can start on our initial dumb story of the week.
You might recognize this can of tomatoes. Cento is being accused of committing tomato fraud. So what's happening is two people in California are suing Cento, saying that their San Marzano certified tomatoes are not actually certified by the Italian Tomato Authority. They're saying that these tomatoes are not authentic. Cento, who has not responded to our request for comment, says that their tomatoes are certified by a third-party agency called AgriCert. But the plaintiffs say that's misleading and that the label suggests these tomatoes are certified by the DOP, which means Protected Designation of Origin. It is an Italian consortium that authenticates and certifies certain foods come from this region. Now, Cento says on its website, its tomatoes all come from Cento, Italy. And they say customers can track where their tomatoes came from, down to the exact field in Italy, by using a code on the can and this website. But the plaintiffs claim that the labeling is false, misleading, and unfair, and that the tomatoes lack the quality and taste of real fruit. Now again, Cento has not responded to our request for comment on this lawsuit, but this is not the first time that they've faced this sort of problem. In 2019, a very similar lawsuit was filed, but it was dismissed. So what do you think? Does this lawsuit have legs?
So, Alex, I learned a lot of things this week. That there is a consortium that authenticates tomatoes over in Italy. And
you have the faintest clue of what you've touched on, which I know a little bit about.
All right, Alex. Okay, your expertise is important. Now let's go on. Tell me.
You've heard the meme that it's not, if it's not from the Champagne region of France, it's merely sparkling wine. That is related. It's related. So every nation in Europe has carved up certain things that they believe are traditionally theirs, and they kind of get a trademark system within Europe at least, whereby you can only sell that good has to come from your country. So, for example, feta in Greece, right? The Bulgarians make something that you might be confused into thinking it's feta, but it's actually just white cheese. If it's feta, it has to be from.
All right. Okay. All right. Just white cheese.
Yeah, it's just white cheese that happens to be salty and, has all the properties that might lead you to maybe consider that it could be perhaps feta, but that would be you being defrauded by the Bulgarians. Because of course, if it's as I said, if it's feta, it has to be.
So there are circumstances where
that's the whole system. Certain tomatoes, certain champagne, certain wine, certain cheeses, certain whatevers are all sort of protected words effectively. So that's the DOP system that she mentioned.
So there's a similar idea that I'm familiar with, which is Wagyu beef. Are you familiar with Wagyu beef, Alex?
Yes.
Okay. So the rules is sort of that is that it's an actual like bloodline of cows in Japan, and they are raised and fed a certain way and have been for generations, and that is what sort of grants it the authenticity of the stamp of being Wagyu beef. It's an actual bloodline of cows.
So is it nature or nurture now? You're confusing me because you said both are a bloodline and they're fed a certain way. So which is it, sir?
Well, it's both, sir. It's both. Like most situations, it is both. And the amount of fat content in the meat is something that is both based off of the continued bloodline and the raising of the cows a certain way each generation. And there have been exports of a couple of those cows to different regions, in particular Australia, where they have interbred with other cow lines, and they are also passing it off as Wagyu, but usually with the marker like Australian Wagyu, to sort of say that it's from the lineage and somehow, but it is, somewhat of a separate item. And there, of course, is differences. There are differences if you try to purchase the two types of cuts and taste them. I wouldn't say that I would do a class action lawsuit over it, but
Famously, the original Silk Road was bankrupted when Byzantine monks stole the silkworms from China in their canes and exported them to Byzantium, who was able to then make silk without having to go all the way to China. So that said, I am a little confused how you would fit a Wagyu cow in your staff to Japan. But I'm willing to believe anything at this point. I guess that's how they exported the Nissan CEO, right? They put him in a box.
What's your audio setup today? What's your audio setup today? It's a little different.
Is it bad? Is it worse than usual?
There's aspects of it, yeah. So when you're talking normally, it's fine.
Let me try something else.
All right, sir.
Tell me if this is any better. Is this any better?
We'll talk for a bit and we'll see.
No, it's fine. It's the same system. I will look for alternatives.
What is your audio setup today? Like yes. What you got going here? Because when you're speaking normally, it's fine. When you laugh though, something's cutting out, and you're not audible at all. So I don't know what the distortion is.
I see. So this is about okay. I'm just on speaker with my phone. But maybe because I had it on my chips. I don't know. Let's try this and tell me if it's any better. Okay. So, where were we?
Well, we were discussing the Wagyu, and you just asked about the Nissan.
So how
Nissan CEO.
Anyway, do you know that story at all? The Nissan CEO.
I do not.
Carlos Ghosn. He was convicted in Japan of certain type. Well, no, he was accused, but Japan has a quote unquote legal system that has like 99% conviction rates. So he went back to Lebanese roots, and he just got some people to break him out of Japan. Some U.S. Green Berets, if I remember, to get him out of Japan in a crate. Literally in a
There's actually an aspect of that is very similar to a part of a plot in the movie Spy Game, interestingly enough. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
So so the cows got in some way they got into Australia, but then they interbred, so it's no longer pure Wagyu. Theoretically.
Right, that is correct. And so that's a similar situation, although, these tomatoes would have to be extremely nuanced in their flavor in order for me to notice. I don't tend to notice. I'm not usually eating my tomatoes just as tomatoes. I'm doing something with them. I'm either eating them in line with a sandwich, or I'm making a pasta of some kind and using it as a sauce. I'm not just, eating my tomatoes and throwing a fit. I might throw the tomatoes if I throw a fit, but I'm not eating the tomatoes. But that's fine.
Much like the fans of our podcast are doing right now, actually.
Yes. Now, Alex, this next story it's not super tragic because nothing bad has happened specifically. Nobody, it appears, was murdered. Nobody was specifically assaulted or harmed yet. But it seems that there is a apartment complex in New York, in Brooklyn, that is having a neighbor who is causing them all to be in fear. And it seems that the government is doing absolutely nothing to help.
I'll show you some terrifying video new at 11 tonight. This is out of the Bronx. A man caught on camera terrorizing his neighbors. Tenants say he's been roaming the hallways, swinging hatchets and hammers. And he's still in that building tonight. News 4's Chris Jose in Williamsbridge, where tenants are just pleading for help before he strikes again.
He walks around with hatchets, he bangs on the door, he walks around naked.
A desperate plea from tenants afraid to leave their homes in the Williamsbridge section of the Bronx. Cell phone video through a peephole showing their neighbor armed with a hatchet. The man in a wig yelling in Spanish, "Open your door."
Whatever he could find in his hands, he's going to use it to bang on your door. How can we live with somebody like that?
Tenants say the harassment has gone on for years. Watch as the menacing neighbor swings away with a hammer, damaging an item on Leona Clemente's door.
I'm going to call the police. Get away from my door.
Clemente calling police. Officers taking the neighbor, again wearing a wig, away in handcuffs on April 13th. Anthony Orozco charged with intent to damage property.
It's always scary to leave my house. I always have to look out the door both ways.
Clemente showing me the temporary protection order against Orozco granted by the court. Other videos from neighbors show Orozco naked in the hallway. Last August, he was charged for menacing his neighbors. Here, he appears to have a knife in his hand.
It's every day, you never know what's going to happen. I'm afraid for my life. I'm scared to come out my house.
Orozco at his door telling me in Spanish he's innocent. Building management says they're in the process of evicting the tenant.
We need somebody to hear our voice and help us out. Either get him out and get him some help, or something, he's going to do something worse. He's going to end up killing somebody.
The eviction case is now in the hands of the Bronx Housing Court. In Williamsbridge, Chris Jose, News 4 New York.
So, if you keep arresting the person for this type of stuff and then just keep releasing them back into the same apartment complex, I don't know if you're accomplishing anything too spectacular there, Alex. I think after the second or third time the police are called to a place because you're walking around banging on the doors with weapons and hatchets, specifically hatchets, I think that it's time to to do something about this. Expedited.
Do you think if this was like a more upper class neighborhood, the same reaction would have been had by the police?
I think perhaps the National Guard might be brought out just for this guy.
That's right. Let's say he was doing that, but in Martha's Vineyard. What do you think the police would do?
Yes. Well, we know what happens whenever
you can bring to somebody who wields knives naked in your hallway. How many felonies can you count?
Well, I think we know that when Ron DeSantis shipped all the migrants up to Martha's Vineyard from Florida, that it was definitely a national news story when they freaked out and had to have them removed. So I think your expectations of the outcome are correct. Now, Alex, that's the last short story we have sort of today. So those were the first two quick ones. We unfortunately didn't have a cute grandma story.
Just letting yes.
Yes. Yes. But now, have you ever seen the show Crank Yankers, Alex?
I've never even heard of it.
Okay.
That helps.
It was a show on Comedy Central in the early 2000s, and the premise was that comedians would perform prank phone calls and then take the audio that they recorded of those prank phone calls and animate them with puppets. Okay, so they do a little puppet show, sort of like the Muppets with these crank calls, and each of these comedians would have regular characters they would play when doing the prank calls. And one such character was named Bobby Fletcher, and he was voiced by a comedian named Jim Florentine. Now, these facts won't really be important, but I'm just introducing the concept to you here. And this next story will require me to play one of these prank calls in order to see if you can agree with me on a particular point.
Hi, this is Bobby Fletcher. Who am I speaking with?
My name is Rachel. How can I help you, sir?
Hi, Rachel. Yeah, I was wondering if you guys have any rooms.
We definitely have rooms. Yeah, let me transfer you over to reservations. I can help you out.
Well, can I talk to you about it?
Yes, sir. What can I answer for you?
Well, I was just wondering if I could just use the room for a little while.
Oh, we don't use like hourly rates. It's only daily.
No, it won't even be. I'm just looking to take a quick nap. So I'm getting my car done down the street, and they said it's going to be a few hours.
Okay, well, you would have to book a room for the night. We wouldn't be able to do it by the hour.
No, well, it's not even. I just need like 45 minutes. I don't even need it an hour. Just wondering if I could just open one of the rooms.
I'm sorry, sir. We couldn't even do it by the minutes. Yeah, you would just have to do a regular reservation for the night.
I just want to take a quick power nap.
You would have to book a room for the night, sir.
Well, how much would that be? I'm not going to...
Our rates start at $250.
Yeah, see, I'm not going to touch anything. You know what I mean? I'm just going to be like a...
Well, we're not really a hotel for naps. We're a hotel for full night stay.
No, I understand that. I got to wait 5 hours for my car to get fixed. So you just want to get a quick nap in.
I'm sorry, sir. You're welcome to come, but you would have to pay for a full night.
But can I use a room that you haven't cleaned yet?
No, sir.
You know, like I'll just use a little corner of the bed. It's not going to be a problem.
No, that's not.
It doesn't have to be one of the clean rooms.
We would not check you into a dirty room, sir.
Yeah, I'm not going to check in. I just wanted you to go crash for a little bit.
No, sir. That's completely against every security policy we have at the hotel.
What security? I mean, do you have any couches in the lobby? Then maybe.
You know what, sir? I'm going to hang up now because I don't think this is going anywhere. All right? Have a great day.
No, it is. Why do you hate?
Now, Alex, now that I've, primed you with that sort of audio, would you agree that character has a very distinct voice, very distinguished, identifiable sort of tone about their vocals there?
Yes.
All right. Now, CNBC this week did an interview that went a little sideways. And I want to ask your opinion on whether or not this is conceivably just a modern crank anchors bit.
The big deal news of the day, GameStop offering to buy eBay for $56 billion. The stocks are both up big in the last month. In the pre-market, CEO Ryan Cohen saying that combined company will be a real competitor to Amazon. And joining us right now live and exclusively is the man himself, Ryan Cohen. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Morning.
It's great to see you. So there's so many questions about how this would all work. But before we get to any of that, just give us the backstory here and the rationale behind wanting to go ahead and try to do this.
eBay has the second largest commerce franchise, and there's a big opportunity to do something much larger and to pull costs out of the system, as well as accelerate revenue growth and leveraging our physical infrastructure, our focus on collectibles. Could be a much larger business, but bringing in an entrepreneurial mindset is what I plan on doing into eBay and building something much larger.
Okay, so you've built up a stake in this company already. You've had conversations with the company. You've tried. What's happened here?
No. We're just starting.
You're just starting. And one of the questions I had was, why not try to initiate conversations outside of the public sphere before putting this into I don't know if we're putting it in the context of hostile necessarily, but unsolicited, if you will?
For obvious reasons. eBay is a public company. There's all kinds of perverse financial incentives from the board to the management team. So there's only one way to approach something like this.
Invariably, the audience, and I know a lot of people are going to ask, how does the math for you? Given the price tag, $56 billion, given the market cap of GameStop, which is a fraction of that, I know you have this $20 billion financing letter from TD, but sort of walk us through how you could get to that price and how it would work.
It's on our website. It's half cash, half stock, but the details are on our website.
Can you help? I've read them, but can you help our audience understand them?
Yeah. Which part exactly?
Well, I think we can start with the idea that the market cap of GameStop is, call it, $11 billion. You have $9 billion on your balance sheet. Arguably, if you're providing effectively all of your stock, and then the cash that gets you to 20, you have this letter from TD. That's another 20. We're now at 40, but we're still off by, call it, 16. And the 20, as far as I understand, while it's considered a highly confident letter, meaning TD saying they're highly confident that they would provide the financing, it's not locked financing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I hear you. I understand that. I'm just trying to understand where the rest of the money would come from.
It's half cash, half stock.
I hear you. I'm just saying that math doesn't get you to the price that you're offering.
So, Brian, that's a pretty straightforward question. I don't get it. Like, where's the rest of the money coming from? Andrew laid it out pretty clearly.
I don't understand your question. We're offering half cash, half stock, and we have the ability to issue stock in order to get the deal done. But the full details of the offer are on our website.
But you're on our air. We thought we'd get.
So, but I don't understand your question.
So, Ryan, sorry, it's Melissa Liebeck at the NASDAQ. Basically, you know, you've got $20 billion presumably from TD. You've got $9 billion of cash on your balance sheet. So that's 29. Half cash, half stock. You might issue more shares. That's what you're talking about. So it could be dilutive to current GameStop shareholders. I want to move on, though, in terms of your vision for this combined company, because saying that a combined company could rival the likes of Amazon sets the bar pretty high. How do you foresee that happening, given some key differences between your model and Amazon's model? Notably, Amazon has a huge logistics hub, able to, you know, offer all this other sort of delivery service, and GameStop and eBay would be confined to the platform.
There's an opportunity to build a much larger business, to make the business much more efficient and to accelerate revenue growth. And eBay is a very strong business. You look at GameStop as an example. GameStop, very difficult business, should have been bankrupt multiple times over, and it's doing okay. It's making a few bucks. eBay is in a very, very strong position, but it could be in a much stronger position, and it could be a much larger business than what it currently is.
What do you think, Alex? Are you sold on that idea?
Yeah, totally. Especially when you realize that the market is valuing them basically for cash plus $2 billion.
There's an opportunity.
Sorry about that. We should be good now. Apologize for that. misfire on my button pushing. So, do you agree with me that something about that was very, very off, and that it might even just be a prank, some sort of mimetic troll?
I think he's been reading the Art of the Deal. This guy is going Trumpian. Like just say a lot of words and like directional. It's going to be tremendous. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be much bigger. They're in a strong position. They could be stronger. Keep it third grade.
Half cash, half stock. Okay, but you actually have to make that equal up to the 56 billion that you talked about there, and then if
technically not right. Like if not, you don't necessarily have to buy all shares of the company you are.
Just a controlling majority, sure, okay, but
right. But then there's anyway. I don't know if you want to get into the details of the M&A deal here.
Well,
the CEO appears to be high on drugs.
Yes, he does appear to be very, very under the influence of something. Although that's just a speculation, an external observation about behavior, not necessarily a drug test conducted by site, but
No, we didn't say he was under the influence. We said he appears to be.
Yes, appears. Correct. No. There's some details will be fine. Yes, you're correct. You don't need the full market cap. However, in order to fight competing pressures, you typically do need to have a sizable portion of the ability to purchase a majority share as currently priced, which as soon as you announce that you're going to be purchasing, it could shift unless you have an agreement in advance to buy them for a particular target price. Then the open market just changes the price for you in the middle. So it makes it difficult.
There's a lot going on, right? Because the combined company is obviously going to be worth, I don't know, $56 million, I guess. Let's just say exactly how much eBay is worth. So presumably they could issue on that. Right, and get some backup, but I don't know how the math is math. And the other problem I'm not entirely sure about is that when the company's valued at 11 billion, it has 9 billion on the balance sheet. That basically means that that cash is part of the valuation. You can't double count.
Right.
So if you spend all your cash, you're not gonna be valued the same. Let's just say.
Correct. Yes. That would immediately take you almost to like a $2 billion valuation based off of the assets or whatever you're controlling in intellectual property wise. Like there's nothing else. And based off of
I'm no hostile takeover agreement here, so I might be missing something about on the issuance. But you're definitely right that the CEO was definitely not. He did not appear to know anything more than I do. Let's just put it this way. I've cash, I've stock. I don't know. I like the stock.
Yeah. Now that would affect if they did somehow manage to acquire eBay. That would affect their ability to be the sort of meme stock that they have been for the last several years, which I don't understand how people still attempt to buy buy GameStop and AMC off the idea that they're going to get some sort of short squeeze. Like they got a short squeeze once or twice out of it, but I don't think you're going to be able to get a short squeeze out of that if you continue to pump it just because of eBay, unless they really destroy eBay, in which case you could get an over shorting and have a short squeeze. But well, I don't know. I haven't followed eBay's business as of the last few years. I have purchased one or two items off of it.
I think we may have cracked the code here. I think this is what's happening is, so the cash thing, right? So basically they're taking advantage of the fact that they've got a bunch of cash, relatively speaking, a ton of it, like $9 billion ish. Plus 20, they got a letter from somebody, which is a question how they got that letter, but let's just accept the letter on face value. You get to 29, which is, suspiciously close to half 56. Are we in agreement?
Yes.
So that's the half cash part is suspiciously tightly calibrated.
Right.
Now, eBay itself has some cash, presumably, so that's gonna give you a little bit of room to maneuver. Because as you acquire the company, you get the cash of the combined company, and then you got this stock portion, which maybe they're hoping to materialize via issuance into the meme stock narrative.
Correct. But the issuance, I mean, like, look, if you have to cover a gap of something that's already twice your value, sorry, much more than twice, because if they're at 11 and 9 of it is cash in the valuation, that means they still have to come up with approximately 39 to get to the amount that they need there.
Yeah, they've got the 20 in debt, right, that they're going to take. So they're really missing another 29, which I think they're basically hoping to
issue that in
materialize
stock
with a monster bill.
Yeah, I mean, like, what are you going to do? You're going to dilute everyone's shares by half to do that?
No. They're going to issue a bunch of shares for presumably for the combined equity for the combined company of sorts, if that makes any sense to you.
It
gets complicated. We really don't need to get into it because I don't think you came to me.
I do. It might be a futile effort.
Because my brain is like trying to make this work out.
It seems like an interesting scheme. Let's put it that way. All right. Well,
the scheme is definitely a good way to put it.
For the last like 4 to 5 months, there's been a phenomenon that has been bothering me, and I've been trying to figure out if it's just the algorithm messing with me, or if it's a true phenomenon, or if it's somehow both. Not just the algorithm messing with me, but the algorithm bringing something to light that is always existed. I haven't done a meticulous introspection on this or investigation to try to determine it, but it has been something I've been commenting to people, and this is going to be an introduction into that phenomenon, because I'm not the only one who's had this sort of noticing, let's say. And that is in the last 4 to 5 months, Alex. Several times per week, there seems to be a new news story of some female teacher being arrested for having sex with a student. And when it comes to some sort of illicit behavior between a teacher and student, it is typically a male teacher and a female student that you imagine, because there is a social idea that women are just not as horny, right, and not as predatory. But there appears to be some sort of influx either in my news feed sharing me these stories just because I looked at one or two and just decided I like this content and that this is the rate that it normally occurs across the country, or there is some sort of increase in the number of teachers at least being caught, let's say. We can never tell what the true rate is because probably many go unsolved. But this particular story has been developing over the last month. This one specific instance of a teacher-student relationship that has started to blow up and gain a lot of eyeballs for several reasons. One of those reasons is that 2 teachers were involved in the same school in this scandal, and they were both sleeping with the same student. This is one of the stories that has been percolating, that has come into the flux of female teachers sleeping with their male students.
Are raising concerns about mandatory reporting requirements after 2 teachers at Centennial High in Peoria were accused of sexually abusing a student.
While both lost their jobs, neither one's been charged or arrested, and child advocates say the principal knew and did not tell police. Michaela Marshall went to the county attorney for answers.
What boggles my mind is, why is this an issue? Why is there any hesitation on people's part?
Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell says under Arizona law, anyone who works closely with children is required to call police or DCS immediately if they reasonably believe a child is the victim of abuse, sexual abuse, or neglect.
Reasonable belief is really one of the lowest standards you'll ever have. You need probable cause to get a search warrant. It's less than that.
Mandatory reporters include everyone who works in a school, medical professionals, religious leaders, and law enforcement.
We put the onus on professionals, but parents are mandatory reporters as to their own child.
And if someone does not report when they are a mandatory reporter, that's a crime.
It's a crime. If it's a sexual abuse allegation that they don't report, it's a class 6 felony. which can come with, prison time, probation, a fine.
Mitchell said she could not comment on the Centennial High School teacher's case because her prosecutors are reviewing it. But in that case, the police report states the school's principal and the victim's mother were aware of the allegations before someone else tipped off police. Peoria police submitted charges against both teachers, but not against anyone who may have failed to report a crime because it did not meet the legal threshold for reasonable suspicion of abuse.
It's very fact specific. We're going to have to take a look at that. Obviously, our main focus is going to be on the charges that are submitted to us in terms of sexual abuse.
Since 2023, MCAO filed 7 cases against people who failed their mandatory reporter duties. 2 additional cases were submitted this year and are currently under review.
If somebody robs a bank and there's a lousy investigation, you don't interview the right people, you don't preserve the evidence, the bank was still robbed. But if you don't do a good investigation on a child abuse case, it's as if it never happened.
And Mitchell says she expects a decision on charging the cases against the now former Centennial High School teachers in the next few weeks. We'll keep you posted as we learn more. Reporting live, Michaela Marshall for Arizona's Family.
All right, Michaela.
Now, Alex, do you have any initial thoughts on that news story? That was back in early April. I believe April 10th is when that news story first came out. Any initial thoughts, anything that came to mind, observations?
It does appear like perhaps the attention on Brigitte Macron is becoming a fad.
Okay. All right.
Did the youngster toxin have presidential qualities? I don't know.
Well, none of these teachers have been accused of having a penis or hiding, stealing other people's identity to hide such a...
What kind of conspiracy content are you consuming, Gator? I said nothing about penis.
I know. I understand. I'm just... Look, my feed is filled with stuff lately, and I don't know what to think.
I merely referred to the fact that the president of France appears to have married his first girlfriend, who he met when he was 14, and she was his teacher. That's all. Substantially older.
Yes, and still substantially older. Now,
the difference is not shrunk whatsoever.
This story is not over, Alex. That clip from April was not the only thing that that occurred. So just so you understand, the sensational aspect of this story that has caused it to gain steam is not just because there were 2 teachers. The details of the story get more tangled. So this is from AZ Central. Why Arizona stopped investigating principals in Peoria teacher sex case. Mia Ellis, a parent in the Peoria Unified School District, began asking questions when 2 Centennial High School teachers were placed on administrative leave with little explanation in summer 2025. Quote, "It just seemed to me that there had to be more to the story," she said in an interview with Arizona Republic. There was. Nearly a 200-page report details a prolonged and inappropriate relationship between Centennial High School teachers Haley Beck and Angela Berlacca and a male student. According to digital communications between the student and Beck collected by police, the relationship involved sexual activity, drugs and alcohol, explicit messages, gifts and money transfers, and repeated private meetings outside of school. Police uncovered Berlacca had sent explicit videos involving sex acts to the same student. The relationship began when the student was 16 years old and continued for years, according to the report. But what disturbed Ellis most was that the nature of the relationships. It was evidence in police report that the 2 principals in the Peoria Unified School District knew about the situation, but did not report the matter to police as mandated by Arizona law. Ellis decided to escalate the matter on her own. In February, she filed a complaint with the Arizona State Board of Education, alleging that Centennial Principal Scott Hollabaugh and the principal of the neighboring Peoria High School, Samuel Shalaga, had knowledge of inappropriate teacher-student conduct but failed to report the matter to police as documented in the police report. A month later, she received a call from David Spielik, the Arizona Board's chief investigator. He said they had decided not to move forward with the case because the administrators had reported in a timely manner, she said, and that they had looked into the whole case, but ultimately there was nothing there. Spielik followed up the call with a letter that reiterated the board's decision not to move forward with the case. Did Peoria officials fail to protect the student in teacher sex case? No evidence from police or school records indicate the administrators reported the matter to police. Sean Ross, executive producer of the State Board of Education, said in a statement that all records, quote, during an investigation of immoral or unprofessional conduct are confidential and not public record, citing Arizona law. In fact, it was not school officials, but a concerned grandmother who first alerted law enforcement to the situation, according to police records. School officials were alerted to inappropriate conduct and grooming behaviors months before police got involved. In February 2025, a former student emailed top administrators with specific concerns about Beck, describing her sitting alone with a student in a car, giving him gifts, and messaging him frequently on Snapchat. Hollabaugh acknowledged the email and told the former student he had spoken to Beck, but took no further action. When police arrived at Centennial with a search warrant in July 2025, Hollabaugh confirmed he previously had received multiple complaints from students and staff about Beck. He then showed police the email he had received from the former student in February 2025 expressing concerns. A second district administrator also told police he had prior knowledge about the situation. Chigola, principal of neighboring Peoria High School, told police he first learned of Beck's relationship with a student at a family party during summer 2025 when a relative showed him a photo of a young teacher in a bikini. The relative said students were all talking about the teacher's close relationship with a student on the football team, according to police records. Chigola told police he brought the photos to an administrator meeting the next morning where Hollabaugh responded, quote, "Oh shit, this is not the first time we've had an issue or had to talk to her." Hollabaugh told Chigola he would investigate, but according to police records, no law enforcement followed. Police have recommended that the teachers face felony charges, though the Maricopa County Attorney's Office has not yet determined whether to file any. An attorney for Beck said in a statement that his client committed no crime. Berlocka did not respond to requests for comment. But Ellis feels there has yet to be a reckoning for the administrators who looked away from warning signs. This behavior had been going on for years, to the extent that it was an open secret among students. When police finally got involved, students were surprised because they had grown to accept this as normal, accepted student-teacher behavior. More student victims will probably now come forward. Why did it take the administrators so long to act? Arizona law requires school employees, including administrators, to report suspected child abuse, including sexual misconduct, to law enforcement or the Arizona Department of Child Safety. Casey Summers, superintendent of the Peoria Unified School District, said in a statement that at the time the concerns were reported, the information available did not meet the legal threshold for reasonable suspicion of abuse. Behaviors documented in the February 2025 email to Hollabaugh, a teacher sitting alone with a student in a car giving him gifts and messaging him privately on Snapchat, met the standard of reasonable suspicion that would require administrators to report, according to Arizona's own mandatory reporter training materials. Grooming behaviors like gift giving and inappropriate one-on-one contact are explicitly flagged as reportable behaviors in a recent state manual. Quote, "As parents, we send our kids to school trusting that if something is wrong, the adults in the room will take necessary action," she said. "What stunned me is how that simply didn't happen here." The board's decision to pass on this case reaffirmed Ellis's fears. Quote, "Who is going to hold the adults who let this happen to account? I still don't know. We're always working to improve your experience." Oh, sorry, that's the copy the last little sentence that has nothing to do with the story. Now, the beginning of that story mentioned 200 pages from the police. So because the prosecutors, apparently the DA, decided not to prosecute, partially, as it turns out, because the parents were sort of not cooperating that well. They wanted their child to go to college free of any of this controversy, didn't want it to become a distraction. So the parents of this individual were less than cooperative, and that's why the DA didn't pursue the case. The police, I guess, in response, just dumped all of the information that they had collected in the investigation. And so a trove of documents came out, including all of the text messages between the one teacher and the student, so Miss Beck. And the police report, I'm going to quote some of the excerpts from here, and this is part of their investigative portion. On Saturday, 8/02/2025 at approximately 12:53 hours, I received a phone call from Detective Sergeant E. Goetz asking for my assistance in reference to this investigation. I am currently assigned as a detective in the Peoria Police Major Crimes Unit. It was not on duty at the time of this notification. Sergeant Goetz told me that the Peoria Police Human Exploitation and Trafficking Unit was investigating an incident involving a couple of adult females, high school teachers, who allegedly engaged in illegal sexual acts with one of their students, a 17-year-old male. Peoria Heat Detective R. Kraber is the case agent for this investigation. Quote, the teachers were identified as 47-year-old Angela Berlacca and 27-year-old Haley Beck. During the course of this investigation, Angela was contacted and interviewed. Today, I was asked to assist with locating Haley and to take her into custody pursuant to a search warrant. In addition, we would serve a search warrant at her residence and high school to collect her cell phone, computer, and other electronics. Now, that was the sort of the introduction to the investigation, and this is a portion where they fleshed out a little bit more of the investigation and interviewed a student who also happened to be dating this male student who was sleeping with the teachers. Quote, she heard some rumors about Miss Berlacca. She heard she sent nudes to football players. She does not know everything about that, nor is involved. She noticed when she started dating Redacted, Miss Berlacca would be weird with her. She would then go to the bathroom. Miss Berlacca would ask her if she was going to go hang out with Redacted. She asked her about Redacted all the time. She thought that was weird. Miss Berlacca was one of the first people to find out Redacted and she were dating. She also heard Miss Berlacca added multiple boys on Snapchat. It wasn't just Redacted. She heard Miss Berlacca added Redacted on Snapchat either freshman or sophomore year of high school. This was after a football game. She texted him flirty shit and Redacted was scared. She started sending Redacted stuff and would tell him that her husband does not satisfy her enough. She would tell Redacted to come to her classroom early and not tell anyone about this. She did not hear this through Redacted, though. She heard this from people close to him at the time. She has never seen this on his phone, though. She heard that other students have received similar messages. She just knows the whole football team is bonded over how weird the teachers are, and they have seen the same pictures of Miss Berlacca. With Miss Beck, she is a weirdo. She is weird with all of her students. She is weird with all the high school boys. She is flirty with and fixated on still being in high school. Everyone knows that. Other teachers have questioned her about it. Miss Beck has told them about the teachers questioning her. Quote, she never liked Miss Beck. She had Miss Beck for psychology last year, first semester. Miss Beck used to text Redacted. She would text all of the football boys, but specifically Redacted. She would send him money and weird shit. She would ask Redacted about me. She would ask Redacted, what are you doing? In which he would respond, I'm with the girl. Miss Beck would call him weird. When Redacted responded, he would be rude to her and tell her she is being weird for texting him. He would tell her this is going to get her ass in trouble. She just did whatever. She never saw anything freaky in the text from Miss Beck. It would just be her sending him money or asking him, what are you doing today? Let's go get food. It was like she was trying to hang out with him. One time, she knows Miss Beck hung out with Redacted when they went to Fired Pie. He was with his friend and she met up with him and she said she would pay for his food. So now, because they also released the text, we get to see an insight into what was actually happening between this student and Miss Beck. And let's just say that Miss Beck was not very perceptive when it came to hints that this gentleman was just using her for money and maybe occasional sex, and had absolutely no interest in her. So the recreation of the text exchange that I put through ElevenLabs to do an audio version of is going to just highlight some of the available texts that have been sort of being recited across the internet in the last month.
Hey, sugar mommy, nice to hear from you at the perfect time. Look at you being telepathically connected.
You better suck up right now because I cried myself to sleep last night because you didn't say love ya. I also decided I don't like the title of sugar mommy. It makes me feel used.
Oh, gosh. What title do you prefer? Cry baby?
Watch it. I'm being drama. I didn't cry, but I was visible shocked. Darling or doll always suffices.
I fell asleep big whoop. Sugar baby requesting money from doll face sugar mama.
If cut you off from the money benefit from all this, I really fear you would never speak to me.
IDK. We should try to find out.
Is that a threat? I think you would miss me for me just a little bit.
Probably.
Nah, I was just thinking how we started off literally nothing to do with money. How did we get to this point?
Man.
Back when you liked me for me and not my bank. You also sometimes like me for something that doesn't even require money, but obviously no can do right now.
Nah, whatever you was doing the other night with your tongue, don't let that get out your inventory for real. Keep that in your back pocket ready to go.
Gotta catch me today before my period starts tomorrow, I think. What the hell does the helicopter mean? Okay, mysterious helicopter.
Propeller motions.
Meaning what? Next to a tongue like what? Right after you disliked a message saying to see me today? Lots of mixed signs here.
I won't be seeing you today, unless you pick me up from the airport and just devour my shit.
I thought I can't since you have to get your dad. I DK how I'm supposed to devour you if I'm driving and dropping you off.
At the crib? Out front.
Look, it's so sus doing it during the day, but okay, whatever you say.
Come inside. Nah, chill. Car it is.
Now, Alex, I don't know if you would say that those were signals that of disinterest and general disrespect for Miss Beck, but from my perspective, it doesn't sound like she was taking the hints that he was clearly giving her.
Can I just say, can I just commend you on the excellent recreation that also shared a theme with the prank call show that you mentioned earlier?
Oh, okay. You're welcome.
Yeah, the what was the name of that guy? Bobby whatever Fletcher?
Bobby Fletcher, yeah.
Very good, very good. Yes. I mean, I think she was pretty, like, you know, the not understanding that he was using it for cash thing, I think, is the most understandable part of that. Like, you know, people get into situations where, you know, they kind of know, but they don't want to know, and they like to deceive themselves or whatever. There's another part where she was her student that is a little bit more concerning.
Well, so as these texts go on, or if you decide to start somewhat from the beginning of the release of these texts in the police report, you wind up seeing this sort of unfortunate pathological neediness from this woman, Miss Beck, and it just continues as he disrespects her. And I'm not crying tears for this woman, but believe me, it's more of a gawking sort of situation than it is a pity situation. But you're looking at a woman who apparently has, 27 is not exactly old, but when you're 27, it's the oldest you've ever been. And so it seems like she has she's missed out on her high school years and has decided that now she's getting some attention for being older and has access to drugs and alcohol and can provide these teenage boys with things that they can't get otherwise, and is using that to try to get close to them. And has a sense of inferiority because at parts of the time she gets jealous over Miss Berlocka competing for this kid. And
wait. There's three women. Well, one student and two teachers at this point. Am I right?
That is correct. One student and two. Yes, one student and two teachers shagging this kid. That is correct.
Oh my God.
Yes,
I don't know who's exiting this one with their dignity intact, to be completely honest with you.
No dignity. This Miss Beck is sort of infamous in the last month across the internet for this, and there are plenty of people going, "We have a Miss Beck sighting." Now, I of course have never participated in such a thing. I don't know where she lives. I've never actually followed her on the internet to find out, but I have seen this cross through my feed because, again, the internet is saying, "You watched this once, so you must be interested." So I learned all of these things.
But the algorithm is the alibi for everything, Gator, is it?
It is certainly. But I do I do get a lot of things now that are very schizophrenic in my algorithm. Let's just say, if you've seen,
I wonder why.
But as the broader topic goes, this is one story of many that I mentioned at the start, which is that every few days I am being fed a brand new story about some female teacher sleeping with a student, and I don't know if this is a new phenomenon, if teachers are getting caught more just because the technology is making it easier to get caught, or what. And I am not the only person who has commented that they are seeing this a lot, so it is very curious to me. And maybe someday I will take a look at the stats to see how often
Gator,
it happens.
this is
if
exactly
the stats are there.
your calling in life is to write a scraper that goes through court documents and police reports or whatever you want. Whatever part of the pipeline you want to intercept, whatever is more available, to figure out if this is a thing.
I don't know why these teachers are so goddamn horny. I just don't know. It's not something I understand why they're so goddamn horny. Now, this next story is somewhat sad and very sad, but it is not a teacher sleeping with her students. It is a teacher who operated a child fight club inside of a special needs school. This is from KATV in Little Rock.
Can you give that another go?
Can I give what another go?
I think I heard something, but I want to have one more confirmation run.
A teacher was arrested and sentenced for holding a child fight club inside of the school that was special needs. It was a special needs school.
Lord.
A Jonesboro school director
is really schizophrenic.
accused of being a ringleader of a makeshift child fight club has been sentenced to jail time after taking a plea deal. The Craighead County Sheriff's Office began a criminal investigation April last year after a parent reported that her child had been abused at the Delta Institute for Developing Brain. And she wasn't the only parent alleging abuse. Quote, "You go to a place and you have autistic children, you expect them to get help. I mean, if we wanted abuse, I could have put him in a public school," Renee Johns, parent of a former student at the Delta Institute, told KAIT. The institute was home to the Engage School, a program for autistic children that was designed not just to teach, but to take time to understand kids on the spectrum. According to an affidavit, unreleased security camera video showed the school's director and founder, Mary Tracy Morrison, not only encouraging a group of students to punch and kick a fellow student, but hitting the child herself numerous times. In one instance, police say she told a student they could hit the child in the private area. 3 school staff can be seen in the video failing to intervene. They and Morrison were arrested last year and charged with permitting child abuse. Morrison herself faced 11 counts of permitting child abuse, 18 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. For the former charge alone, a felony, she could have spent 6 years in prison for each count. Morrison took a plea deal, however, and received only 30 days in jail and 108 months of probation. She will be barred from working with children in a professional capacity upon her release. For AR People, a public policy advocacy group, has expressed concern after discovering that Morrison Delta Institute for the Developing Brain received over $300,000 in school choice voucher funds from the state during 2024 and 2025 school year. Quote, "Schools that receive voucher funding do not have mandatory reporting requirements from the state. Public schools have to follow federal protections for students with disabilities, but these private schools do not, and that is what is so shocking, I think, about this particular instance, is that a school that was supposed to be for children with disabilities." Jeannie Diaz, executive director of the 4AR People, told KATV, "I think this is a question of, if you believe that private schools want public funding, that they should be able to have accountability systems in place so parents can vet on the front end before they are able to spend taxpayer money. I mean, that's a question that should be asked because right now, those protections are not in place in the state of Arkansas," Diaz said. Prosecutors have dropped charges against 2 of the other 3 school staff that allegedly failed to intervene in that abuse. The third agreed to negotiate a pretrial plea. And now I have some information from Law and Crime Network on this story.
Today's scandal takes us to Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's a city in northeastern Arkansas, not too far from the Missouri border. And Jonesboro is home to a revolutionary school, the Delta Institute for Developing the Brain and the Engage program. Now, the woman behind this curriculum was 51-year-old Dr. Mary Tracy Morrison, who claimed to want to help children on the spectrum. Her studies focused on kids who have autism or ADD and how to make learning easier for them. In 2023, she was showcased in a features package for local TV station KAIT8. She explained every student is different, so she works to understand each person individually to create the best learning program for them. She said, quote, "So understanding what exactly creates their responses of fear, fight, or freezing in these kiddos who are autistic." She went on to explain, quote, "So the front of the brain enables us to be polite social beings, to not be impulsive, to plan, and keep our cool when we are upset. All the things that set us apart as professionals." So from afar, this sounds like a pretty good school. I mean, to have a professional with a doctorate paying attention to what makes each student tick, how to help them learn and grow, it's honestly the dream. But it turns out this dream was actually just a nightmare. And that brings us to the day of the incident, April 16th, 2025. According to court documents, on this day, Dr. Tracy Morrison encouraged other juvenile students to mentally and physically abuse the juvenile student. When the 13-year-old victim's mother reported all of these things to the authorities, they were able to get their hands on the security camera video from inside the school. And what they found on that video was absolutely horrific. In all, the incident lasted between 30 and 40 minutes. And as the video shows, Dr. Morrison instructed a group of 18 kids to form a circle around a 13-year-old boy who was forced to sit on the ground in the middle of them. Quote, "Dr. Morrison can be heard telling other students to put their hands on the juvenile child located in the center of the circle and can be seen putting her hands on the child as well as hitting the child with an unknown object. Dr. Morrison verbally berated the child the whole time as she watched many of the other students sitting around the circle punch, kick, and choke the victim sitting inside the circle." And I want to note, Dr. Morrison, the principal of what's supposed to be this cutting-edge school, is actually encouraging this behavior. Investigators note in their report that after one child is seen hitting the 13-year-old victim, Dr. Morrison then gives the student a high five. She's basically saying, "Job well done." But there's even more. Quote, "Dr. Morrison can be heard asking the other juvenile students if they would like to say something that they don't like about the juvenile victim's appearance, or is there anything about the victim's looks that they don't like. Many students speak up, and as one student is remarking, Dr. Morrison can be seen hitting the victim with an unknown object and instructing the victim to look at the student that is talking. At one point, Dr. Morrison tells a student that they can hit the victim in the private area if they want to. According to the court docs, Dr. Morrison is seen choking the 13-year-old boy multiple times and hitting him with an unknown object. And as I'm explaining this, you're probably sitting there thinking, wait, this happened at a school? Aren't there other faculty members? They must have seen this happening and they just didn't do anything? Yes. That is exactly what happened. According to court docs, another teacher, Catherine Lipscomb, can be seen in the video. She's there sitting at her desk, allegedly just ignoring this literal fight club. A teacher's aide, Michael Bean Jr., can also be seen in the video, entering the classroom, reportedly witnessing the assault and doing nothing. And then there's a third teacher, Kristen Bell. She's also seen on camera walking through the classroom, allegedly going to the desk of Catherine Lipscomb and speaking. According to investigators, none of these three other faculty members did anything to stop the abuse, to intervene, or to report it. And I also want to note, our team has requested the video here. We're still waiting to hear back, but honestly, even if we do receive it, it may be too violent to play for you. I mean, the things that are described are truly terrifying, and it's horrific that a teenage boy, a child, had to endure it all. Now, when it was finally over, Dr. Morrison made the 13-year-old boy apologize to the students that physically and verbally assaulted him. After that, she told everyone, "We're never going to speak about this again." But thankfully, that's not what happened. The 13-year-old boy's mom went to the authorities the following day and made the report, and after that, the charges came down. In all, Morrison was charged with 11 counts of permitting child abuse, which was a Class D felony, 18 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile, a Class A misdemeanor, and 1 count of failure to notify by mandated reporter in the first degree, which is also a Class A misdemeanor. Morrison first appeared in court in April 2025, where bond was set at $250,000. Interestingly, Additionally, early court docs noted that she was, quote, of good character and reputation, and the nature and extent of family relationships was listed as good. But even still, she faced some pretty hefty charges. She reached a plea deal just recently, and those charges were then bumped down. So she ended up pleading guilty to 1 count of permitting child abuse, which is a felony, and 4 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile. All of those are misdemeanors. But get this, her sentence, not what you'd expect. Mary Tracy Morrison was sentenced to 30 days in jail only. She was also sentenced to a 12-month suspended sentence for each misdemeanor count. But again, she's only going to be in jail for literally 1 month. Now, after that, she'll face 120 days of house arrest and 5 years of probation. And there's also a stipulation that she can never again work with children in a professional capacity.
Now, the millennial sound of that host there notwithstanding, I think that fleshes out some additional details that the original article I read didn't cover. And I don't know about you, Alex, but that's the type of situation where there's a part of me that has a fantasy of in seeking justice on my own, somewhat as a vigilante on a perpetrator like that. You know, I don't know if, you know, I get, my brain goes to places that are a little bit dark, and 30 days does not seem fair to me for that type of activity.
No. No, it doesn't.
So,
I will say this does not serve justice to the Fight Club, which did provide at least an opportunity to fight the person you're fighting, if you see what I mean. Like, there was a level of equal opportunity, if not an outcome.
A true Fight Club is a one-on-one battle, and not
precisely.
not a gang beating.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this
is something else entirely. It's ritual abuse. I don't know what the fuck this is. Like, this is wild. And yes, I mean, look, on the bright side, she'll never be able to work again. At that, she's a felon. Her life is pretty ruined. I would be interested not to justify it, but just to sort of understand, like, what the hell happened there and why she did that, or why she thinks she did that.
What the logic was, even if it was perverted and evil. Like, what the sequence of thoughts was that led to it. Is that the
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a gap here, right? Which is, like, understandable in a case where something happens that's so repugnant. You don't really want to go into Jeffrey Dahmer's psychology to understand the causal chain there. But I'm still just kind of baffled as to, those movies. This actually might be part of Fight Club, which is like, you're probably wondering how I find myself here.
Yes.
My answer is yes. Yes, we are wondering. Actually, we're baffled as to how a human being can find themselves there, and when they have children in their care. But again, I don't know. It's yeah.
I do promise that despite the types of ideas that pop into my head when I hear about something like this of a vigilante nature, I do swear that I am not going to act on them. So if you ever hear that I was arrested for getting retribution against this woman, I didn't do it.
We will start a crusade over here, Gator, to get you out of the.
Thank you.
Bring you out of that.
I am innocent of all.
While harboring doubts about your innocence.
Now,
privately,
we're going to move on to a collection of stories, some of which are updates to older events, and some of which are just trying to summarize a totality of patterns of events in the near term. But I'm just under a category of political violence right now. Are these stories coming up? So this is a story from the New York Post. The alleged Palisades arsonist became fixated with Luigi Mangione and said said Blaze started out of resentment of the rich. The deranged firebug, accused of igniting the devastating Palisades fire, had become fixated on Luigi Mangione in the lead up to the deadly blaze, and then allegedly suggested the inferno was started out of the resentment of the rich, prosecutors said. Jonathan Rinderknecht, 30, was obsessed with the accused healthcare CEO and had routinely searched Free Luigi Mangione and Let's Take Down All the Billionaires online, court documents show. In the weeks and hours before allegedly sparking the blaze that triggered the catastrophic Palisades fire, Rinderknecht, who worked as an Uber driver, ranted to customers about Mangione's arrest too. Quote, many of the defendant's Uber passengers on December 31st, 2024 and January 1st, 2025 described defendant as angry, intense, driving erratically, and ranting about being pissed off at the world, and Luigi Mangione, capitalism and vigilantism, prosecutors noted in the trial memorandum. Now, Alex, as an aside here, a detail sorely missing from here is what was his Uber rating? I need to know. Because the Uber rating is, as I understand it, is a very finicky thing. If you dip below like even 4.8, it's very difficult for you to, survive as an Uber driver. So if he's doing this erratic driving sort of thing and ranting about being pissed off at the world, I just have to know, did he still get 5 stars? Like, was he providing a well air-conditioned environment for them with free drinks or something? Like, what was the trade-off to stop that dipping below like 4.8? When asked why someone would ultimately,
if this was on the final day, presumably they didn't. This is really an argument for updating the batch granularity. For rating updates there at Uber.
Your driver today your driver today is 2 stars. Catch him on Tuesdays where he's 5 stars.
Yes, because I guess the joke is somewhat lost to people who haven't worked in big data architectures, but the ratings probably don't get immediately updated, right? If you get like a few bad ones in a row, you might still get a driver that appears to be 5 stars because, due to the volume, they probably like run an overnight update, not a every second.
Yeah.
Update.
So a long run average is a poor signal container for certain
for somebody having a
events.
mental breakdown. Say.
Yeah. Exactly. So a short run average or a somewhat of a rolling average or a weighted roll-off average is one of the better types of signals for that type of environment, because you want to know if something was disrupting. Just because that person has been, great for 6 months doesn't mean that last night he didn't find out his wife cheated on him or something, having a bad day.
I'm half joking in IT architect drag, but that's fascinating because the whole Mangione arc is interesting. Unfortunately, Walter Kern has ruined it for me by his prophesying that this is some other bigger narrative that's been planted. He had his own crash out on this particular story. But beyond that, I think there's how do I put this? It's off distribution enough to be notable besides the fact that somebody died. Like, people die in all sorts of ways, and this is like a particularly curious one in like half a dozen directions at least.
Clarify what you mean by it being curious in half a dozen directions.
Well, you got the 3D printed gun.
Mangione, not the Palisades fire. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Like, you got the good looks of the accused killer. You've got the fact that how he was caught. It was like a whole shit show. You've got the fact that he apparently is a listener of one of our friends' podcasts. Okay. You've got what else you have? Yeah, that whole sort of how it blended into the narrative, and he developed a fan club, including apparently a bunch of mansions, who, for all we know, could have been Mangione's parents living there. I don't know where Mangione lived, but my understanding is that he was not for want of cash.
That is correct. So now moving on to the same, sort of thread, although it starts to get a little bit more specific. Allegheny County man accused of threatening to kill President Trump, member of Congress. This is from WPXI. An Allegheny County man is accused of threatening to kill President Trump and a member of Congress. Now, this is Pennsylvania, by the way, Allegheny County. FBI spokesperson confirms Raymond Chandler was arrested by FBI Pittsburgh and the Secret Service on Friday morning. Court documents filed in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania and obtained by Channel 11 give insight into the threatening statements Chandler is suspected of making. According to the affidavit, Chandler left a voicemail on April 18th for an unidentified member of Congress in which he asked the individual to imagine that 1,000 people pull you out of your house and they slit your throat and they slit your daughter's throat and they slit everyone's throat. Now, he could have been more efficient with that and just say everyone, because I believe that him and his daughter would be a subset of everyone, but why quibble over that? Maybe it was the guy was nervous. Chandler stated that this must happen because wealth concentration has gotten so bad in this country, the affidavit says. The affidavit alleges that on April 29th, Chandler left another voicemail for an unidentified member of Congress saying, "I want you to put that firearm to the president's head and I want you to pull the trigger and I want you to kill him." Chandler said the president is a liar among all liars. He's a great deceiver. He's the Antichrist, according to the affidavit. The member of Congress's representatives reportedly provided the FBI with numerous recordings of voicemails from Chandler and expressed concerns about his escalating calls for violence. Recordings included threats to Trump, the member of Congress, and ICE, the affidavit says. Now, that was somewhat overlapping with a incident that happened at the Washington Memorial in the last couple days.
To breaking news out of Washington, D.C. The White House on lockdown for a time this afternoon after the Secret Service shot a gunman near the Washington Monument just blocks away. Homeland Security and Justice correspondent Nicole Skanga has made her way to the scene. Nicole, good evening to you. What have you learned?
Good evening, Tony. The confrontation took place just behind me across from the Washington Monument, 4 blocks away from the White House. Around 3:30 this afternoon, a Secret Service officer spotted a man that appeared to be carrying a weapon. Moments later, the suspect opened fire. Several agents returned fire, wounding him. A juvenile was also hit, though it's not clear by whom, and is being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. The Secret Service deputy director was asked if this was an attempt on the president's life.
I'm not going to guess on that. I can tell you that every time, one, we're patrolling this area, and every site we do 24/7 hardcore. Whether or not it was directed to the president or not, I don't know, but we will find out.
The White House was briefly locked down. Members of the media were evacuated off the North Lawn. The president was also hosting an event at the White House. It was not interrupted. Law enforcement sources tell CBS News the suspect now faces multiple charges and remains in custody at a local hospital. Tony?
Nicole Skanga leading us off from
So that was an event that occurred just the last couple days there, Alex. I don't know if you've heard of these last two events there, the Washington Monument and the gentleman from. So that comes with, I don't know if you recall, the gentleman from a month or so ago who went to Mar-a-Lago and seemingly went with the tools to try to commit arson and burn it down. Whether or not he had sufficient amounts of material to do so would be a different question. I don't know if you recall that story at all.
Nope, that did not run into my feed either.
Tonight, the FBI is investigating after authorities shot and killed an armed intruder at President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputies say the man breached the property's inner perimeter overnight. Officials say he was carrying a shotgun and a gas can, but he didn't get far before being shot and killed by law enforcement. Parts of South Ocean Boulevard remain closed as the investigation continues. The FBI is now leading that investigation, working to determine the suspect's motive and whether anyone else may have been involved. I spoke with a retired FBI agent about what they'll be looking for next. A deadly confrontation outside the Winter White House. President Donald Trump's Palm Beach home, Mar-a-Lago, is now under federal investigation. Authorities say an armed man breached the property's inner perimeter around 1:30 Sunday morning. When he raised a shotgun towards law enforcement, officers opened fire.
They confronted a white male
that was carrying a gas can and a shotgun. He was ordered to drop those two pieces of equipment that he had with him, at which time he put down the gas can, raised the shotgun to a shooting position. At that point in time, the deputy and the two Secret Service agents fired their weapons and neutralized the threat.
Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw says the man drove in near the North Gate. Investigators have identified the suspect as 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin of North Carolina. He died at the scene.
And fortunately, nobody was in jeopardy inside because of the quick action that was taken by the deputies and the Secret Service.
The Secret Service confirms the president was not in Florida at the time and no officers were injured. The FBI is now leading the investigation.
Currently, our evidence response team is processing the scene, collecting evidence, and we'll continue to work the scene for as long as it takes.
So what are they looking for? We spoke with retired FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan, who says investigators are moving quickly to build a digital and physical timeline.
And we're going to go through those digital footprints that are left behind and, most importantly, see whether or not first was he on the radar to any local law enforcement state, and then see how far back, if in fact there was any planning and preparation in connection with this attempt.
That means searching electronic devices, tracking vehicle movements using license plate readers, reviewing surveillance video. Investigators are also working to determine whether he acted alone. Kaplan says the presence of both a shotgun and a gas can could indicate a plan to cause significant damage.
I think certainly he had a motive or a plan to cause destruction inside Mar-a-Lago, certainly with the gasoline, because if in fact he was able to use that gasoline as an accelerant, that could have had devastating consequences on the structure itself. And of course, in ensuing a panic, especially in the middle of the night where people are sleeping, it could have been a disastrous situation.
This incident comes after previous threats and even attempts on the president's life in recent years, adding to concerns about security. But Kaplan says the assets and resources deployed to protect Mar-a-Lago are extensive.
If you think about perhaps trying to breach that perimeter, there will be consequences.
Reaction is also coming in from local political leaders. Carl Casillo, chairman of the Republican Party of Palm Beach County, says this incident raises concerns about political violence and rhetoric. Casillo also called on the Department of Justice to take action against anyone he says is inciting violence.
We got to quell all of this, and if it means a couple of people that continually speak out against the president and call for harm to he or his family, they need to be arrested. That's illegal. You can't call for harm to other people, and especially the president of the United States. This has gone on far too long.
Officials have been on high alert over the rise in political violence given the latest attempts on the president's life. And while investigators look to find out if the shooter was targeting President Trump, the U.S. Secret Service has been busy these last few years. Remember, back in July of 2024, President Trump survived an assassination attempt by 20-year-old Thomas Crooks in Butler, Pennsylvania. Crooks managed to get onto the roof close to where Trump was speaking during a campaign rally, but he narrowly missed, and he was killed by Secret Service agents. And just a few months later, Ryan Ruth was caught with a rifle-style weapon aimed towards Trump while he was at his golf course in West Palm Beach. Ruth was recently sentenced to life in prison. Since then, authorities have stepped up security across Mar-a-Lago, but that hasn't stopped others from trying to trespass onto the estate. A Chinese national in November 2024 tried to cross over into the property and was arrested, claiming he had ties to a plot against Trump, but there was no evidence to support that. And last year, a man in Texas scaled the wall into the grounds, claiming he wanted to marry a member of Trump's family. He was arrested and held on bond.
Now, Alex, that story was prior to Alan Cole, who tried to assassinate President Trump at the White House press conference dinner thing, the comedy night with the press. So that I don't think anyone's going to listen to me when I ask them to just knock it off with the attempting to kill the president. So I'm going to assume that there's going to be future attempts down the line, whether or not they are well planned or or sort of ineffectual, because I don't even think he was at Mar-a-Lago at the time. People who just get this idea that they're going to go after him, and they pick some target they think he's going to be there or whatnot, and they bring like just a gas can and a shotgun, which isn't really going to do that much. I think that's going to continue to happen. Now, Alex, I don't know if you have any ideas about how likely it is that by the end of this administration we actually have a more successful assassination attempt than one we've had, but I'm starting to think that it's going to be higher than 10% chance at this point.
I mean, look, you're a man who's well versed at figuring out trends. So we've had the first guy graze them with a bullet. The second guy was somewhere in his general vicinity. The third guy got caught 2 layers of security away. And this guy was in the wrong state. Am I following this correctly?
Well, reverse the trend. So Alan Cole was in the building and down the hall, and this guy was in the wrong state. Then this guy being in the wrong state preceded. So if the trend isn't just that they're getting further away, it is that there's a little bit of stochasticity in there. Stochasticity.
Well, let's just say that they are sending the best, who are taking down, and then the next guy comes up for his number. Anyway, jokes aside, I mean, I assume that this class of assault, attack, whatever, is the sort of thing you would get in a country that is this divided. Let's hope none of them get lucky, I guess. If not, because I particularly care what happens to this particular president, because much like January 6th, it'll just be used to take freedoms away from all of us. And I frankly don't care for that one bit. So that's my reaction is cut it off.
So
you're no good at it. B, you're helping them.
Other presidents are expendable is the point that you'd like us all to take away with. But this one's a threat. If you kill him, he grows 10 times more powerful and takes your rights away.
Look, I have one message for this, which is this is why we need Trump's ballroom.
This is why we need Trump's what?
Ballroom.
Yes,
you haven't caught that.
Oh no, I have. Yes.
This
we
was
need
what
the Trump's ballroom
somehow
because there'll be better security. Yes.
Well, that's why others said it. I said it because others said it. But apparently, after the Alan Cole, hullabaloo, apparently a bunch of conservative influencers all together came out with this particular message, which is a strange thing to come up with.
No, Alex, hubbaloo, was that a specific sort of demarcation of the severity of the event? A hubbaloo?
No, it was a kerfuffle. Yes, exactly. Okay. It was at least a stage 3 kerfuffle.
Okay, stage 3 kerfuffle. All right. Now, is that like DEFCON levels? Does it go up or down in number to get more severe? Because typically people think that DEFCON 5, the average person thinks DEFCON 5 is the most severe when that's actually the lowest level. You go up to 1, actually. So in severity, by going down in number.
Like cancers.
Kerfuffles
are like cancers. They get worse with the higher the number.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We now understand several of the metrics that are available to us, and this has been. I've learned a lot. And all right. So, Alex, we have to move on to an Uncle Jeffy update.
Yay.
When the world feels upside down and the bills are overdue, a wealthy uncle shows up with a plan to help you through. He's got a house down by the water and a plane that's always ready. Just think of me as family and Jeffy. He knows a lot of famous people. They're always dropping by. The grown-ups laugh a little loud when someone asks them why. Uncle Jeffy, hey there. He's the uncle everybody trusts. Uncle Jeffy, hey there. He's never eaten babies. Oh, oh, oh. He's got parties on the weekend. Lots of friends you've seen on TV. Life's an adventure every day when you're staying with Uncle Jeffy.
A handwritten note locked in a federal courthouse for years, never reviewed by federal investigators, and hidden from you. It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do? Bust out crying. No fun, not worth it. That note was allegedly written by Jeffrey Epstein, and it just got released by a federal judge. Now, if you followed this case at all, if you've been following us here on Sidebar, because we've been all on top of the Jeffrey Epstein story, you know there are already more questions than answers about what happened in that jail cell. So to be clear, the official ruling says one thing, and we already know what that is, right? That's on the record. But this newly released note, along with other documents, is fueling a new wave of speculation and suspicion and maybe theories. And depending on who you ask, this note either supports the official story or it blows it apart. We know that Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in July of 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges. He was being held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City awaiting trial. And on August 10th, 2019, he was found unresponsive in his cell. The official ruling from the New York City medical examiner, later backed by the Department of Justice and the FBI, was that he went out on his own terms. But almost immediately, questions emerged, considering who Jeffrey Epstein was and his connections, right? Multiple surveillance failures and camera issues were documented at the jail. That contributed to speculation. 2 correctional officers were charged with falsifying records related to required inmate checks, though prosecutors later dismissed those charges under a deferred prosecution agreement. But again, questions, questions, questions. And before all of that, about 2 weeks before Epstein died, there was another incident. On July 23rd, 2019, guards found Epstein in his cell with marks on his neck. This is according to a Bureau of Prisons incident report. He survived, and his cellmate at the time was a man named Nicholas Tartaglione, a former police officer awaiting trial for quadruple murder. And according to the New York Times, Tartaglione says he found something after Epstein was removed from the cell, a handwritten note tucked inside a book. Now, Tartaglione gave the note to his lawyers, but then nothing. For nearly, 7 years, the note sat locked away in a federal courthouse in White Plains, New York, sealed as part of Tartaglione's own criminal case. It never came up in the official investigations into Epstein's death, as far as we could see. The Department of Justice told the Times they had never even seen it. So how did it just come out now? Last week, the New York Times filed a petition with Judge Kenneth Karras, who oversaw Tartaglione's case, asking the court to unseal the note. And the Justice Department didn't oppose the release. And on May 6th, just yesterday, Judge Karras ordered it unsealed. And now, for the first time, we can all see what it apparently says. So the obvious question is, did Jeffrey Epstein actually write this? That's the biggest question, right? And if he did, was he serious or was he just messing around? And if he wasn't serious, why was this apparently locked away for 7 years? So let me read this to you in full. It's from a note that authorities have not publicly authenticated. Okay, I want to be clear about that. But it's one that Tartaglione claims Epstein wrote. Quote, "They investigated me for a month, found nothing. It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do? Bust out crying? No fun, not worth it." Now here's where it gets weird. Because just days before that July incident and weeks before his death, Epstein was telling prison psychologists he had no interest in ending his life. That's in the files. We have the documents. We've talked about this before. So which is it? The note saying goodbye or the man saying he wanted to live? I mean, that's the first question the files won't let us ignore. And that's just the beginning, because once you start looking at what else came out in these files, the questions don't stop, they just get bigger. Now, there's a big but here. But before we go any further down the conspiracy road, we do have to talk about something else, because there is actually some compelling evidence that suggests Jeffrey Epstein did write this note. I'm going to start with the phrase bust out crying. It's not a common expression, but Epstein used it. In a September 2016 email to his brother Mark, which is included in the files, Epstein wrote, quote, "What you want me to do? Bust out crying." Same phrasing, same misspelling, same everything. So if someone faked this note to make it look like a suicide note, they must have had access to Epstein's private emails from years earlier. Maybe. Or more simply, Epstein just wrote it himself. Then there's the CBS note. 2020, CBS News reported on a different handwritten note found in Epstein's cell after his death. That one complained about jail conditions and a guard keeping him in a locked shower stall for an hour. They also complained about burnt food and giant bugs crawling over his hand. And at the bottom of that note, Epstein wrote 2 words, "No fun." Exactly what he wrote in this newly released note, no fun. So with that in mind.
Now, Alex, I don't know if you've come across this story this week, if this is something that I'm bringing to your attention now, or if you had actually heard it earlier this week.
I think you can consider me having been effectively offline all week. So
okay.
No,
now I've attached the note to the space here. Alex, if you want to see the thread, I have three notes in succession. The first one is the purported suicide note that this Tartaglione turned in. And then the other 2 are notes that I have found that are authenticated notes written by Epstein himself. And for the life of me, I am on the highly leaning side of this is not his handwriting. And the 2 examples that I have, following it are just my attempt to say, hey, look, is this even plausibly his handwriting? And there's plenty of things I've done to try to look at the individual letters and how he might write them, where he might start the letter and try to, perform the construction of it. And it does not match to me what this suicide note is. Now, I need more examples to see if perhaps he's inconsistent with the way he writes, but for the life of me, this does not look like the same handwriting to me. Now, I'm not going to call myself an expert, but, people do have a style when they write, and they tend to not just randomly deviate from that style. Now, of course, the construction of the letters might be cleaner on some days, but if you're going to write the letter D, you're going to start in a certain location, end in a certain location, and you're going to have a normal way that you're going to do it. For example, I draw a line down and then I connect like a letter C to the bottom of the lowercase d there, and that makes my D. Other people, they do a full pen not coming off the paper sort of thing. Like, there's all sorts of ways that people do it, but they're usually consistent when they do it. They don't change in midstream. One of the silly stories that I have from years ago when I was a younger lad, a friend of mine worked in a place that did passport processing, and he would get celebrities' passport applications come through, and even though he wasn't supposed to, he would occasionally scan them to show his friends the celebrities' passports that would come through. And one time he had scanned both of the Olsen twins' passports. And I then learned that the Olsen twins write their letter N's and their number 8s differently. I don't remember which one writes which, but one does 2 O's on top, one on top of another, and the other does an actual figure 8. And then the other does a line down and a swoop down, up and down for the letter N, and the other goes up and then does like a U for their letter N. And I learned that they have different ways of writing their N's and 8s, and if you knew that information, you could catch them trying to frame the other one for a murder, maybe. And so I'm looking at this, and I just don't see this this as being his handwriting off of with the two examples that I have that are confirmed. Alex, I don't know if you have any.
I also have sent you another one that I have talked about before that I found myself in the files just accidentally in effect. And yes, his writing style is very rounded, broadly speaking, very curvy. And looking at the other one, how do I put this? I want to see some writing samples from Tartaglione.
Exactly.
Maybe I'll put it that way. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm obviously I'm not saying that it's conclusive. My little analysis. I'm just saying that off the first
we
pass,
might be able to find something in. Tartaglione has had a number of cases. They do, if they have dockets with released files, we might be able to pull something up somewhere.
I think it would be fascinating to do because this does interest me somewhat because there are people who are going to easily believe, and I'm referring to our friends like Chris Kavanaugh, who who loves to just take whatever is confirming whatever bias he has, and a letter like that where it just says, "Yeah, I'm going to kill myself." They'll go, "Well, they found it in the prison cell," and it's like, okay, but they also had a serial murderer in the cell with him. I don't know if we're really finding anything conclusive here. I'd like to do a handwriting analysis. To see.
When you say they, who exactly did you?
Yeah, right.
The guy with the multiple felonies, yes.
So, okay, I'm glad we're on the same page here. Now, there's one extra clip from that law and crime segment that I want to play here, Alex, because it's something that you brought up a couple weeks ago. We had been talking. I believe at the time on this show about the COVID days, and I was making a comment that there was plenty of shady stuff that they were doing to try to control people's feelings as they were unleashing the vaccine into the public, including holding staged vaccination attempts where they were not actually vaccinating people. It was all for show, or they had vaccinated people with saline or something like that, and admitted that they hadn't given them the vaccine, but claimed they had done so elsewhere. So there were plenty of situations like that. And you had mentioned something about after Jeffrey Epstein's supposed death that the prison had done something with to fake out the media with a false exiting of a dummy corpse.
Themselves. Officials did something that day that most people don't know about. A decoy. According to an FBI interview document included in the Epstein files, a food services employee told investigators that after Epstein's body was found, officials noticed a large media presence gathered outside the MCC. So what did they apparently do? They came up with a plan. And I'm going to read this directly here from this document. Quote, in order to thwart the media, 3 redacted names used boxes and sheets to create what appeared to be a human body, which was put into the white OCME vehicle, which the press followed, allowing the black vehicle to depart unnoticed with Epstein's body. A fake body made of boxes and sheets, loaded into a medical examiner's van, press followed it, the real body went out the back in a black car. That is not the kind of information that is going to squash the theories out there. It's just going to amplify it. Now, again, to be clear, this doesn't prove anything about how Epstein died. And yes, he was a notable figure. You can maybe understand why they did something like this. The decoy was about media management, not a cover-up. But again, it's another example of how strange this whole episode.
So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up, Alex, because you had mentioned it, and it was something I didn't until you mentioned it, I didn't recall happening. But I found that to be appropriate.
But he says like you might understand why they might do it, and let me play the idiot for a minute. Well, maybe others would disagree. But why would they do that? Can just somebody explain like I'm 5 here. You got the media. You're not avoiding sending the medical examiner's van. Like, are you afraid that they might like jump the body? Like, what is?
Yeah, are you familiar with familiar with the Beatles and what they called Beatlemania, Alex? Okay.
Yes.
The moment they come off the plane, the groupie girls, the 15-year-old, they swoon, and they rush the Beatles. And Epstein was like a Beatle in some ways. Okay,
That's right.
And so, you know, all the girls who were following him on Instagram would have just swarmed.
I see.
Yeah. So he had to control that.
And would have found a number of bed sheets formed as a human body, which would have continued the story down. We're worried this might happen. So we were going to set up a situation that looks as sketchy AF as possible.
Yes. Everyone is doing a bang-up job. Everyone is doing a bang-up job out there. That fortunately concludes our Uncle Jeffy news. We don't have to dedicate too much time to the Uncle Jeffy news, but I did find the letter fascinating because it just does not look like his handwriting to me on first pass, and I think we'll be curious if we can find some Tattaglione.
And really, you were
letters.
Just trying to create some gender balance on the high school
the predators,
teachers that are harassing students.
Yes. Well, we still have a 2-to-1 ratio right now, I guess. But I guess it's going to blow up with this next story, and the ratios are going to get a little confusing. Disney cruise ship staffers among dozens arrested in child porn investigation. Staffers on a Disney cruise ship docked in San Diego were among 28 people arrested by U.S. Customs and Border Protection as part of a child sexual exploitation material operation. According to the federal agency, between April 23rd and April 27th, CBP boarded 8 cruise ships as part of the investigation. Law enforcement interviewed 26 suspected crew members from the Philippines, 1 suspected crew member from Portugal, and 1 from Indonesia. Officers confirmed that 27 of the 28 subjects were involved in either the receipt, possession, transportation, distribution, or viewing of CSEM or child pornography, a spokesperson for CBP said in a statement to Variety. CBP canceled their visas, and these criminals have been returned to their country of citizenship. The agency did not reveal the names of any of the staffers arrested. A spokesperson for Disney Cruise Line issued the following statement to Variety. "We have a zero-tolerance policy for this type of behavior and fully cooperated with law enforcement. While the majority of these individuals were not from our cruise line, those who were are no longer with the company." In April, passengers aboard the Disney Magic ship captured video footage of several employees being arrested by immigration enforcement agents. One vacationer, Dharmi Mehta, took a video of a man she said was her server, and he was detained. The other cruise ships involved in the operation have not been disclosed by Customs and Border Protection. So all of those people were sent back where they came from and their visas canceled. Their MasterCards are still up in the air, though. Alex, no, it didn't specify all the genders, so we don't have a correct gender balance to tally at the moment on our sex predator list here today.
Well, I don't know. Good job, Disney, I guess. They're doing an excellent job rescuing their brand there.
All right.
Hiring
so
service.
I think unless I'm forgetting something, that is going to end our sexual predator stories for today. And we are going to move into primarily just tech sector stuff here. Okay. Tech sector stories for the rest of the day here, Alex.
With no intersection with the sex predators, just to be clear.
I do not believe so. I will apologize if I forgot that something was on the stack here. Now, Alex, we've talked about the age verification laws that are passing, and we have talked about also in Europe, where Europe is becoming increasingly despotic when it comes to their online privacy rules, where they are disallowing VPN usage for speech and things like that, where they want to try to identify the person immediately with their real name, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it turns out that the US might be following suit to some degree. Utah is the first state to hold websites liable for users who mask their location with VPNs. Law goes into effect designed to prevent bypassing age checks. This is from Tom's Hardware. Utah's online age verification amendments, formerly Senate Bill 73, take effect on May 6, making the state the first in the U.S. to explicitly target VPN use as part of age verification legislation. Signed by Governor Spencer Cox on March 19th, the controversial law establishes that a user is considered to be accessing a website from Utah if they are physically located there, regardless of whether they use a VPN or proxy to mask their IP address. It also prohibits covered websites from sharing instructions on how to use a VPN to bypass age checks. NordVPN has called the law an unresolvable compliance paradox, with a liability trap, arguing that it holds websites responsible for identifying users whose tools are specifically designed to be unidentifiable. The EFF warned that the legal risk could push sites to either ban all known VPN IPs or mandate age verification for every visitor globally. That is the point, I would say, cynically. Alex, I don't know if you would agree with me. The law is also technically flawed, given that it assumes that a web provider can reliably detect VPN traffic and determine a user's true physical location. They can't. IP reputation databases such as MaxMind and IP2Proxy can flag traffic from known data center IP ranges, but commercial VPN providers rotate addresses constantly, and residential VPN endpoints are largely indistinguishable from standard home connections. Autonomous system number analysis can catch traffic originating from data center networks, but can't identify personal WireGuard tunnel running on a cloud VPS, for example, which routes through the same infrastructure as ordinary web hosting. The only detection method that reliably identifies VPN protocol signatures is deep packet inspection, which analyzes traffic at the network level, not system or app level. China's Great Firewall or Russia's TSPU systems deploy DPI via ISPs, but a website operator can't because it requires access to network infrastructure that sits between the user and the server, not on the server itself. Meanwhile, setting up a personal WireGuard instance on any major cloud provider takes minutes, meaning the law will be more likely to negatively impact non-technical users who rely on commercial VPN services for legitimate privacy: journalists, people living under authoritarian regimes, political dissidents, and abuse survivors, among others. Utah isn't alone in trying to legislate the impossible into being. In the UK, the House of Lords, Parliament's secondary chamber, voted 207 to 159 in January to ban VPN services for under 18s. And those amendments now due to be debated in the House of Commons. VPN use jumped by more than 1,400% on the first day of age verification enforcement in July last year. Meanwhile, France's Digital Affairs Minister, Anne Le Hennoff, said that the VPNs are next on my list. Wisconsin considered similar VPN provisions earlier this year, but scrapped them due to heavy backlash. To date, the only countries that have made progress in blocking VPN traffic with some success are authoritarian regimes with ISP-level surveillance. Alex, thoughts?
So why are they trying to block VPNs again?
So the idea is that there is a age verification law in Utah that requires a website that is operating and accessible inside of Utah, let's say like Pornhub, to require age verification protocols to be in place in order to allow someone from Utah to access that site. But that doesn't require someone from Pennsylvania or someone from Ohio or New York going to, let's say, Pornhub and doing the same. So if you use a VPN in Utah to circumvent the age verification, like we've been talking about and becomes a running theme on this show, Alex, they are trying to go down the chain of causes and make it illegal to stop someone from doing the thing that they want to be illegal.
I think we should do the same, Gator. I think we should fight fire with fire and talk about, do you know how much in assets the Mormon Church has?
I do not know this, but I'm imagining that it is a few dollars at least.
Guess. Have a wild guess. Just say a number. It's a church, it's got a bunch of members. They tithe a lot, so they gather a couple of bucks here and there. How many do you think?
Mormon Church been around for quite a while. They are very devout, so tithing's pretty high. I'm going to put it at 12 billion.
300 plus.
Billion. Billion.
Billion. Yes. Anyway.
All right.
I don't I don't say this for any particular reason, other than that this is some sort of prudish Mormon thing that we're looking at. I think this is what it looks like to me anyway. I think I'm on good grounds, given that, you know, lots and lots and lots of elected representatives in Utah are morons, for obvious reasons.
All right. Well, but what about the trend in the UK, sir? I mean, we can't blame the Mormons for everything, although, you know,
no, the
it'd
UK
be a
is
fun game to
fascinating.
play.
So I don't know if you've noticed the UK elections, or know what happened there.
I have not paid attention for a while, so you'll have to fill me in, sir.
So they had an election recently where I don't. So due to how their electoral system works, Labour had a fantastic, like, dominant victory in the last elections. Okay, in terms of parliament seats. But because they run basically lots of time, you first past the post, you only just have to be the largest minority, right? So even though they got like something like 30-something% of the vote, 33, maybe less, they got like, I don't know, something like a super majority of the seats because everybody else was shattered. But in these latest elections, you know, that very delicate balance broke, and basically half of Labour has left for the more nationalist sort of side of it's not Reform UK. There's two right-wing parties now that have a similar-ish name. One is Reform and one is Restore. Anyway, I think Reform is the big one. And the other half has left for the Green Party, leaving Labour with basically nothing. And this is important because essentially you have a party that is in power and has a mandate until 2029, knowing that unless they do something, they are going to be over as a party.
Okay.
So one of the things they did to presumably, I don't know, like cozy up to a right-wing audience, it's unclear what the thinking was to ban porn. But I think that's a very specific situation.
All right. Well, I guess, you know.
I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's ban porn precisely, but it definitely like added restrictions.
Okay. Well, we're going to continue to, you know, bring stories in with the age verification laws / the VPN backdoor sort of legislation comes in. But similar to the 3D printer story that we've talked about several weeks across on here, they are attempting to just will things into existence that are technologically difficult to do, if even feasible and conceptually. But
they're feasible by doing something much larger than whatever, you know, they claim to be asking for.
Yeah. Well, now, Alex, I've complained about Microsoft in the recent past doing some weird things with Windows systems, and I suspect, as many others do, but it could just be the trendy thing to suspect as a knee-jerk thing, that they are using a lot of vibe coding and breaking Windows in various ways that they've never been broken before. But here is a situation that has been uncovered in the last week that security researchers flagged, surprisingly uncaught until now. Maybe there's plenty of zero-day exploits that were using this fact. But it turns out, Alex, Microsoft Edge loads stored passwords in clear text. Security researcher Tom Joran Sornbrester discovered the Microsoft Edge internet browser will load saved passwords into memory in plain text, even when they're not being used. When a user saves passwords in Microsoft Edge, the browser decrypts the credential at startup, storing them in processor memory. This occurs even when the user visits sites that do not require those credentials. Yet the browser will prompt users to re-authenticate before showing them the same password in the Password Manager UI, even though the process already stores them in clear text. Quote, the risk of keeping the passwords in clear text in memory becomes evident in shared environments, Roning said in his post. If an attacker gains administrative access on a terminal server, they can access the memory of all logged on user processes. When Roning reported this behavior to Microsoft, he was told this behavior was, quote, by design. Maury Haber, chief security advisor at Beyond Trust, asserts the digital trust created by a password was never intended to be electronically immortal artifacts living in memory of a device. They were meant to be transient secrets, entered, validated, tokenized, and discarded from process memory. The moment a password is retained in clear text memory, even for operational performance, it stops being an authentication mechanism and becomes a liability regardless of who has access to a system. Haber says that process memory is viewed by modern operating systems as a protected, albeit shared, resource. Debuggers, crash dumps, memory scrapers, malware, privileged insiders, endpoint agents, and even legitimate administration tools can all interact with memory under the right conditions. If a password exists in clear text within memory, the credential is no longer protected by encryption or hashing. It's simply waiting to be something used by something and potentially anything. Alex, that surprised the hell out of me that it was that's what they were doing.
Sorry, can you describe the vulnerability again? Because it's so they basically had the password in clear text that processed memory, which then was
on edge load. On edge
tool?
load. So when edge loads, all of your passwords stored in the database load into active process memory as clear text.
Why?
By design, apparently. Now, unless there's a curveball that happens in the next week, because this is what is sort of everywhere right now on all of the tech blogs and things like that, the tech newspapers online. Unless something changes, this is this is apparently by design, unless someone made a press release that they weren't supposed to. And so for those who are
it's by design, but presumably bad design.
Yes. So for those who don't do the tech world enough, you have your RAM. You're on your computer. Everyone should know what the RAM is, and that's your random access memory. That's what the program is going to load its resources into. So anything that you're doing, when it says like, hello Gator, how are you today? The name Gator is stored in RAM somewhere and shown on the screen and stuff like that. Now, typically on a browser like Chrome, when you go to use a password, you have to have your user logged in, and it will then go retrieve the password from an encryption source and then decrypt that password and send it across in short time to the site that you are on in a way that is supposed to protect the password from being observed. But what they are saying Edge is doing is loading all of the passwords that you have saved in its system into memory at once, which means that any other program signed into your computer with the same credentials as Edge, so typically your own login itself, will be able to see these passwords with the right little coding, small amounts of code, to be able to look at the memory space and just see what the passwords are. That's extremely insecure. I have no idea how that would even be something that they would say is by design. As Alex said, poor design. If it was by design.
Guess. I have a guess. It is not a good guess in that it does not justify anything. But if somebody complained, for example, for the decryption time of passwords from the encrypted store, a very dumb way of fixing the problem would be to say, we will do it on load. In the background, and then we'll have them whenever we need them. Again, I'm not saying this is a good idea, but it does provide a rationale.
Well, I'm not a class action lawsuit type of guy, Alex. I'm not the type of guy who's going to sue the tomato people like at the top story of the day here. I'm not that kind of guy, but I would say that the ways that Microsoft has gone to get you to trick you into making Edge your default browser, and sort of like if you go on and you try to download,
which I have heretofore avoided so far, but do go on.
But if you start your computer fresh, clean install of Microsoft Windows, and you open Edge to do what everyone does when they open Edge for the first time, which is go to try to download Google Chrome or some other browser. If you try to do that, the first several links will be sort of deceptive links to just use Edge instead. And if you then do any action on Windows that requires it to use its internal interpreter of web browsing, because now majority of the programs that get released are made using basically Electron, which is a way of turning a web browser experience into a self-contained application where the development is a little bit easier for people who are used to web development as opposed to desktop development, and you get a faster product that way. So something like Discord, if anyone uses Discord, or even like Spotify or something like that on your computer, is really just a glorified web page running as a self-contained application. Well, there's a lot of apps that do that using Microsoft's web tech stack, and under certain conditions, you will be prompted to immediately make Edge your default browser for some stupid reason. Like they try to trick you every which way to make Edge your default browser. And under those conditions, the fact that it's such a security hazard to have all of your passwords for every website just become in the clear, I think could be grounds to have a class action lawsuit, Alex. I'm not sure, particularly since they still do this in places with high levels of security underneath of them, like the government and government contractors who do top secret work.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is wild. I do, as usual, wonder how they found themselves in this situation. But other than that, yeah.
So unless there's a curveball, that's the situation. Now I'm hoping there's a curveball and that these researchers are mistaken and that the confirmation by Microsoft that it's by design is just a lie or something like that, and we go, we were duped. This story didn't exist, but it is being reported widely. So I now have not personally tested it to verify because I did not have time this week. But if it turns out to be not true, I will update. Now, Alex, here's a short story that you wanted to bring up last week that was not on the stack, but will be on the stack briefly this week. Newly deciphered wrong one. Here we go. What kamikaze dolphins mean for defense stocks. Here you go, Alex. I know you wanted this last week, and I disappointed you by not having it on the stack, but we have it on the stack this week.
It's all right. I primed the pump. Go on.
This is from Barron's. On Tuesday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Joint Chiefs Chair Dan Kane held a morning press conference to review Project Freedom, which was America's latest attempt to open the Strait of Hormuz to commercial shipping by using naval escorts. The Strait, of course, is important for the world's economy, with roughly 20% of global oil supplies passing through it. Restricted shipping amid the U.S.-Iran conflict sent global benchmark crude oil prices up more than $30 a barrel. Investors got their update, although President Donald Trump suspended Project Freedom on Wednesday. The biggest takeaway from the news conference was about marine life. Secretary Hegseth confirmed that Iran wasn't using kamikaze dolphins to attack U.S. military assets. He wouldn't say if the U.S. had dolphin assets in the water. It's like sharks with laser beams, added Kane, referencing an Austin Powers spy satire movie. He wasn't aware of any reports of mine-carrying dolphins. Idea isn't as strange as it seems. The U.S. Navy has trained dolphins and sea lions for decades, mostly for reconnaissance. Dolphins or not, the war has just been a boon to defense stocks. Coming into Wednesday trading, the iShares Aerospace and Defense EFT was down 12% since the start of fighting. The aerospace part of the ETF was hurt by higher oil prices. As for the defense part, investors are worried about spending pressures from a Democratic-controlled Congress, a distinct possibility after midterm elections later this year. Beyond the war, investors are always looking for examples of artificial intelligence generating tangible revenue for business. AGCO gave investors one on Tuesday. The tractor maker reported better than expected first quarter earnings. The company's precision farming unit is performing well. One of the new products is a camera that can distinguish between a plant and a weed, reducing herbicide use and saving farmers money. AGCO has sold 3,700 camera systems in 2026, according to CEO Eric Hansosha, exceeding the company's full year prediction. So now, Alex, are you for or against using Echo the dolphin to either explode mines or reveal mines in any way? Did you play Echo the dolphin on the Genesis as a kid?
I did not. But I don't know where they're going with this, because on the face of it, it sounds idiotic. And also, given that the U.S. has done their own dolphin things, it just brings attention to things that they probably would not want to bring attention to. So it is very strange. Is this like their way of excusing away how come Iran still controls the Straits of Hormuz, even though, quote unquote, their navy is destroyed and their air force is destroyed and the whole country is destroyed. I don't know, but it is
who
wild
controls
to
the
me.
dolphins. He who controls the dolphins control the world. And now you didn't know this, but
And on
most
this
dolphins.
note, I will direct you to your DMs to find a link to a story that, even though it's Wikipedia, this is an animal interest story, so perhaps they could be trusted with the basic propaganda, which is really all we want from them.
All right, give me just a few seconds here. Now, you didn't know this, Alex, but it turns out that majority of dolphins are Shia Muslim. So you didn't know that. But
the Ayatollah was a big deal for them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are. They do want revenge. When dolphins want revenge, it's all right. So we got Vladimir. Do you know how to pronounce that, sir? Because I don't.
Well, I don't, but it's Valdemir.
Valdemir? All right.
Valdemir,
all
like
right. Valdemir was a male beluga whale that fishermen near Hammerfest in northern Norway noticed in April 2019, allegedly wearing a camera harness. After being freed from the harness, he remained in the area and appeared to use humans, used to humans. Sorry, thank you. A speculation that he had been trained by Russia as a spy whale led to him being dubbed Valdemir, a portmanteau of Norwegian Hval and Vladimir for Russian President Vladimir Putin. By 2023, Valdemir's range appeared to have expanded to include areas of the southwestern coastline of Sweden. On the 31st of August 2024, Valdemir was found dead in the Bay of Risakva. Oh, he's already gone? Close to Stavanger in Norway. Activist groups claimed he died from gunfire. Was he armed? The following necropsy confirmed that he was.
Did he write a note?
Case. Yes. No fun. All they want me to do is take photos of things. Well, there's a long history. I think we've talked about sometime, maybe like a long year ago, of different projects where the CIA had used animals as spy apparatuses. So like birds in particular, by trying to have cameras on birds and listening devices attached to birds and trying to get them to fly to a specific destination to use for espionage. I don't know how successful those are writ large, but it really doesn't matter as we get closer and closer to the invisible sort of electronic bugs that we have, the micro machines that we create routinely now, the ones that have.
I mean, look, this is where I have a Balena story, but usually I deploy the story as look at all the cool things we used to do.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's going to have a different tint. Stop me if I've said this one before, but we were involved in we had a customer that used us to strap a camera to the back of a Galapagos turtle. So basically you have a device in a waterproof enclosure strapped to the back of a turtle with a camera, and a 3G modem that when the turtle came out of the water would and got cell coverage as turtles are wont to do, would sort of send the recorded video footage to the server that the camera was connected to. Again, I just thought, hey, this is really cool footage of a camera of a turtle doing turtle things from a turtle POV in the water. But apparently it was a spy project. I don't know what to believe anymore. Anyway, so the technology to do this, I guess, is like fairly rudimentary, all things considered. You're not going to find primitive tribes in the Amazon doing it, but I mean, for any consumer, it's fairly straightforward to acquire the technology to do this.
Well, I think some of those remote tribes might just be able to communicate with the animals directly. They don't have to use our technological ways, right? The animal spirits are able to,
Yes. Anyway, long story short, the technology is fairly accessible to do this, but I mostly sent you that Valdemir story because of how much of a trope it is, basically, to accuse your opponent of somehow weaponizing nature in order to, do things to you without really any hard evidence. All I see here is that it was allegedly wearing a camera harness. I don't know who made the allegation. Anyway, yeah. So, and then the next paragraph of what you read says, according to Ukrainian marine researcher Olga Shprak, the whale was named Andruha and was captured in the Sea of Okhotsk in 2013. The whale spent a year in St. Petersburg. So this apparently the Ukrainians can also read the minds of whales and extract location information from them. Anyway,
Well,
yeah. So
wow.
so it's a
Okay,
little bit of a
well.
trope, but I don't know where they're going with it at all. Like, I don't understand why you would get literally the what is it called, the Secretary of War and the general like talking about fucking dolphins. I don't understand it. Can you help me?
Well, listen. Pretty soon, interacting with animals and using animals is going to be extremely passé. Okay, I'm not sure if it's going to be anything impressive to do that anymore after.
Fox News alert: the Trump administration releasing the first batch of files related to UFOs and alien life.
So is the truth really out there?
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy joins us live with the details. What have you learned, Peter?
Good morning. So a White House official left this hard drive on my desk overnight. You can see on it, it says AARO files copy 2 of 3. That is the all domain resolution office copy 2 of 3. This is the first big batch of UFO disclosure ordered by President Trump. Some of the clips and videos on there have popped up different places before. Some of them have not. And we have been going through this all morning and overnight to try to put together some of the best video so we can all look at this together. This is a world exclusive right here. So let's go to the first clip. Over the skies of the United Arab Emirates in June 2024. An inverted teardrop with a vertically linear trailing mass, as described by the War Department, suspended below. The War Department cannot say for sure what this is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. The next video, over the skies of Iraq, December 2022, moving bottom left to top right of the field of view. All CENTCOM gets from this is an area of contrast. That's what they describe it as. It is officially still listed as an unresolved UAP report. Next video, over the skies of Greece, October 2023, what is described as a small and circular UAP flying near the surface of the ocean towards land. CENTCOM can't tell us what it is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. Within the last 2 minutes, all of these videos have gone live on war.gov/UFO, and a White House official tells Fox First, while past administrations sought to discredit or dissuade the American people, President Trump is focused on providing maximum transparency to the public, who can ultimately make up their own minds about the information contained in these files.
Now, Alex, you said that you were pretty much AWOL the whole week and that perhaps you didn't keep up to date this week on things, but did you happen to take a peek at any of the video that was released?
I did take a peek of something you retweeted from Michael Tracy, and I'm none the wiser, but I must say that if they're talking about the same Greece that I know, it does not have access to any oceans whatsoever. That's -1. Fox News right there. But to keep going, and the Pentagon, potentially.
Well, there were 2 videos that I saw from the batch, and I didn't spend an enormous amount of time looking. And my tweet with Michael Tracy, the thing I retweeted, is he's the resident poo-pooer of everything. He doesn't believe a single thing that gets said to him. I guess I don't even know if he knows if President
that's not
Trump
true. He believes every
president.
single release by the government on the Epstein files and as authentic and definitive. Apparently not these ones. I don't know how it works in Tracy land, to be completely honest with you.
Well, so he was commenting on how the video or the images were of such low quality that they couldn't nobody could like identify what the object was, and that is sort of the point.
Sherlock.
But my
They're
criticism,
unidentified objects bin.
yeah, and he was saying this is supposed to be the stuff that blows us away, and it's like, well, no, this is supposed to be the information on shit they can't identify, and all important objects would be of similar poor quality. Whether they were, extraterrestrial in nature or just a normal bird, they would be equally as baffling on those images, because the resolution on something that might not even be a visual platform, meaning like it's not an ocular system, it is a radio system. It is something that is recreating an image based off of something other than visible light spectrums, maybe infrared. Like the quality on these systems is antiquated, and it is not supposed to necessarily be 100% useful in identifying an object, even though you might wish to. There's a trade-off when it comes to quality and reliability and certain things, where if you have a specific system that's operating on aspects of visible light only, then you can miss something that's camouflaged, whereas something that has infrared is less susceptible to camouflage because you're not going to match a heat signature with camouflage easily, right? Like there's plenty of reasons that you're going to use one device over another, and you're not going to have full coverage of all different abilities to observe in different ways. And so he's poo-pooing the quality of the imagery, and it's like, well, look, important stuff is going to be that poor quality too. The quality does not determine what the importance of the particular object might be in that image. Now, that notwithstanding, I am going to bet that a lot of these things are going to be something innocuous, like a perception issue, where it is going to be a mirage of some sort, not necessarily in the hallucination sense, but a perspective problem, where an object might look like it is far away, but it's actually really close. And because it's really close, the speed in which it's moving is distorted from the way that you're imagining the speed is actually moving in real life. So maybe it's only moving several inches per second, but it looks like it's moving a mile a second, just based off of a perception problem. Perspective issue. Those are a lot of them, I'm going to imagine, but there were two that I found really interesting. One simply because it had a lot of geographic artifacts to do, and that was one I retweeted, which was a white firefly type object seeming to fly across windmills. And the windmills were interesting because hypothetically you could probably recreate the geometry of the area, figure out the windmill configuration in an accurate way with accurate heights and everything, and probably identify the location through reverse engineering, typically just like the way that the Reddit used to troll what's his face from the Transformers movies, Shia LaBeouf. With his flag of they will not divide us or something. So that one was interesting. But there was another interesting one that, Alex, you might want to just try to find at some point, because I don't have a link at the moment for it. I apologize. But it was this drone-like object, but it seemed to fly where what would normally be like the base of this a drone was actually the front face of the drone, and it was like an 8-point star-like object, and it moved in ways that were very fascinating. It could be a drone of some kind, but the mechanics of it were very baffling just based off of the way the video was presented. That was one I thought was very interesting, and I would love to someday know what the hell that device was. I'm not saying it was extraterrestrial in origin, but it did look like a fascinating object that I haven't seen anyone identify as, oh, it's clearly this. So those were two things that I found interesting, and I think overall this release is being handled in a much saner fashion than the Epstein thing was. So I'm perfectly fine with them just releasing, hey, this is stuff we couldn't identify. Here, have fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just have a complete inability to be interested in this topic. As I've said before, the fact that it's being done in such a sanctioned way, but also, make up your own mind. Okay, so what if I run an analysis and discover something in there. Will anybody give a shit? No? Okay, thanks. Like, there's no... to me, like, the much more obvious reason is that since they've buried the Epstein files, they're doing this as a way to have something to say about being the most transparent administration or something, where they know for a fact there's nothing to really find. So they're just throwing some chum at the base, mostly to have something to say, other than, yeah, we buried the Epstein files. So yeah, I don't see anything that changes my apathy towards the subject, really.
Now, Alex, what if some of these UFO files are actually the Epstein files? What are you going to say then? We already know that they faked out.
I won't
body
look a good
leaving.
horse in the mouth. I'll take them.
Now, listen. Where do you stand on Palm Beach Pete?
Nowhere. What is a Palm Beach Pete?
You have not heard of Palm Beach Pete. Okay. So for the last several months, Alex, if you were to Google Palm Beach Pete, you're immediately going to find an image that looks like Jeffrey Epstein. Palm Beach Pete is a doppelganger of a Jeffrey Epstein lookalike who lives in Palm Beach, where Jeffrey Epstein also lived, and has been accused by many of the conspiratorial people on the internet of being Epstein after death. Okay, so Palm Beach Pete to many is Jeffrey Epstein and in his new identity for him. Now, let's say that Jeffrey Epstein is not dead and did not kill himself. It was not murdered, but they actually did do a switcheroo when they shuffled his body out of the building, and now he is with the extraterrestrials back in his homeland. Imagine that is the conclusion to this whole story, that the whole thing ties together, that Jeffrey Epstein is an extraterrestrial and that he was brought here in order to make sure that we were taken care of as a species, and that is what he was actually here for. It was all a philanthropic extraterrestrial endeavor. What would you say? I mean, you still going to poo-poo it then?
Maybe. Maybe
I'm
not.
surprised you haven't heard of Palm Beach Pete.
No. It just hasn't somehow. Me and Pete, or no, what was it? Palm Beach Pete, ships in the night.
I'm gonna send you one image here, Alex, in DMs. I'm going to ask you to tell me if that is Jeffrey Epstein or a completely different person named Palm Beach Pete. Cent. You can tell me.
Oh my God, Instagram, really?
Hey, listen, that's where it put me. I'm not spending hours looking for a non-Instagram link at this moment. I'm sorry. This is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to take. So now you tell me.
That does look Epstein in some way.
That does look Epstein.
I gotta tell you.
So
Epstein-esque.
Yes. So Palm Beach Pete is the new Epstein, just so you know. All right. So moving on to some final articles for the day here, Alex, as we move on to traces of AI dystopia. Okay. We're going to start here with Pennsylvania sues AI company, saying its chatbots illegally hold themselves out to be licensed doctors. Pennsylvania has sued an artificial intelligence chatbot maker, saying its chatbots illegally hold themselves out to be out as doctors, and they are deceiving the system's users into thinking they are getting medical advice from a licensed professional. The lawsuit, filed Friday, asked the statewide Commonwealth Court to order Character Technologies Incorporated, the company behind Character AI, to stop its chatbots from engaging in the unlawful practice of medicine and surgery. The lawsuit said an investigator from the state agency that licenses professionals created an account on Character AI, searched on the word psychiatry, and found a large number of characters, including one described as a doctor of psychiatry. The character held itself out to be able to assess the investigator as a doctor who is licensed in Pennsylvania, the lawsuit said. Pennsylvanians deserve to know who or what they are interacting with online, especially when it comes to their health. Governor Josh Shapiro said in a statement, "We will not allow companies to deploy AI tools that mislead people into believing they are receiving advice from a licensed medical professional." Character Technologies did not respond to an inquiry Monday. The company has faced several lawsuits over child safety. In January, Google and Character Technologies agreed to settle a lawsuit from a Florida mother who alleged a chatbot pushed her teenage son to kill himself. Last fall, Character AI banned minors from using its chatbots amid growing concerns about the effects of artificial intelligence conversations on children. Now, Alex, this one is a little bit odd. If you go to something called Character AI, what reasonable expectations do you have that you are going to get free licensed medical advice on the platform from a real licensed doctor?
Not somebody playing a character AI.
Yeah. What do you? I mean, I think in that situation, the buyer beware and the caveat emptor is really what holds here. Not there was massive deception. If this was, doctors.com and the entire interface were designed to let you think that you were actually consulting with a telehealth professional, I could see this type of lawsuit. But Character AI is mostly known for sex bots. So I don't know.
Something is going on in Pennsylvania. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to read you another tweet by the same governor of Pennsylvania, which goes something like this: "When it comes to letting our kids be kids, let's get back to the basics. And that starts in our schools. That's why I signed a bipartisan bill that will ensure cursive handwriting, a fundamental skill, is taught in all Pennsylvania public schools." It's also why I called on the legislature to pass whatever. Okay. Please explain. What the fuck is happening?
Well, listen, you see, it turns out that as the education system has gone through many changes, a lot of kids can't read by the time they make it to high school. And so instead of making sure they can read, we just want to make sure that they can write in a fancy way. So as long as you take one,
I'm with you. I get it. I follow. Sure.
I mean, look, there are
make
some,
sense, but it's a rationale of sorts, I suppose.
I would say that there is an argument to be made, although I would definitely be hypocritical in this realm. But there is an argument to be made that standard school practices have gone by the wayside, such as making sure that children could write legibly, both in standard print and in cursive, and that reading cursive is a useful skill since a large amount of older material is written in cursive. But
or with cursing, or while cursing even.
I would be a hypocrite because I rarely write by hand. I type majority of my communications, and when I do write by hand, I am so not used to it that my wrist cramps pretty quickly, and my handwriting does look like that of a serial killer's. So if you were to receive my handwriting, you would either assume that I had written it during a earthquake, or that I have some sort of psychiatric disorder. So I have not acquired a useful skill in this realm. I can, of course, write in cursive, but again, only for a very short period before my hand absolutely cramps up. I am not proficient at it, and it is illegible. So I've been able to make it okay.
My wife, having gone through the French educational system in some remote way, does write in cursive and speaks fondly of the skill. I'm just baffled of the initiative here.
I've made it without the skill. I've made it without the skill for a while.
You made it this far, you think? Me too.
So I don't know.
I can barely write Greek in my English.
Look, if an EMP does, erupt over my location and we're without power, I will be having to learn American Sign Language pretty quickly because I don't think my written communication skills are going to hold up. I think, you know, this is
Anyway, long story short, I don't know. I mean, look, Character AI is one of the slimiest companies. But this seems to me like an attention-seeking measure by yet another politician who's looking for something to say in an upcoming, let's say, an upcoming presidential primary, for example.
If he's trying to win by handwritten ballots, it's going to have to be in cursive, or else they're invalid.
No, I mean the AI thing. You know, somebody was saying, I went after the AI companies who were defrauding our youth, blah blah blah, whatever it is that. Well,
the billionaires, they're going to control everything. Now, here's the next story here. Hello, boss. Inside the Chinese real-time deepfake software powering scams around the world. Oh my God, I yelled as I looked at my own face on someone else's body. It was all there. My 5 o'clock shadow, my goofy grin, even the bags under my eyes. I was on a Microsoft Teams call interacting with this deepfake version of myself in real time. Ordinarily, the other person on the line looks nothing like me, but by using a gaming laptop and a sought-after cutting-edge piece of software for scammers, his face morphed into mine. My deep fake pinched his cheek, covered his nose, and stroked his chin, all without the illusion breaking. Whereas video deepfakes used to be about superimposing someone's face onto an existing video, the tool I was using promised something else, the ability to shapeshift into anyone live during a video call. After weeks of back and forth with the Chinese language scammers selling the tool called Huishan AI, I had obtained a copy of the software. Huishan AI is built to work specifically with platforms we all use every day: WhatsApp, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Huishan AI marks the next stage in deepfake scams and fraud, one that the public and tech companies may not be ready for, where criminals are able to change their appearance in real time to trick people, including Americans, into handing over their money. Romance scams, tax fraud, virtual kidnappings all stand to be amplified by live deepfake software, which continues to improve in quality. 404 Media's experimentation with Huishan AI marks the first time a journalist has managed to test this software to see how well it really works, how effective it is, and what its existence means for the present and very near future of scams. Our investigation finds Huishan AI demonstrates its tool as a way to impersonate at least one U.S. police department. We link Huishan AI to Chinese money laundering networks and the ecosystem providing services to massive scam compounds in Southeast Asia, and find that Huishan AI has brought in more than $4 million for its creators. Our investigation also reveals Huishan AI is likely based on open source face swap tools, meaning the true value of the software in its sophisticated technical support. With that, even the least tech-savvy criminal can now access real-time deepfake software, opening up the possibility for more fraudsters around the world to use this powerful technology. Quote, "It's far ahead of everything on the market," the user interface of Huishan AI reads. Huishan AI's real-time deepfakes can be particularly impressive, able to handle adjustments in lighting and objects appearing in front of the subject's face, according to demos the company has posted on Telegram. Now, as a side note, Alex, that is something that differentiates it from technology I'm aware of in the past. There has been a mimetic rule that whenever you are suspecting someone on the other side is using deepfake technology, you ask them to hold 3 fingers in front of their face. And in majority of the cases, holding 3 fingers up in front of the face disrupts the deepfake technology from being able to actually plant itself onto the face. This is a piece of technology that is supposedly able to circumvent that problem. So the 3-finger solution, the mimetic rule of thumb, no longer applies. One demo video
is the thumb one of the 3 fingers, or?
The thumb was not one of the 3 fingers whenever I was seeing it demonstrated. I have never actually had to utilize this test
protocol.
I do not do video streaming pretty much as a rule. I don't do FaceTimes. I don't do anything like that.
I can confirm, actually, even though I've been exposed to your real name, I've never seen you in a video call.
Whoa! We got doxing material. Oh no. So yes, I am anyway. One demo video shows an Asian woman magically transforming into actor Gal Gadot. In the demo, the deepfake Gadot blows a kiss, covers one of her eyes, and rapidly swipes her hand past her face with software not glitching once. Oh my God, how many people have actually used this in role playing?
Joke's on her. Gal Gadot is from Israel, and Israel is in Asia. But anyway.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm just wondering now how many people have actually decided to role play with their sexual partners using this technology now. Other tools sometimes fail when, like, or just some sort of cam girl that they're paying to help them get off. That's
at this point,
Alex, if that's not a niche, that's one of the. Let's beat that to market. No pun intended.
What do you think AI is going to do to the OnlyFans market for jobs?
I mean, well, I've already seen. So whenever Sora 2 and other high quality versions like that were coming up, there were already plenty of companies that were trying to just mass produce the explicit copies where if you were an OnlyFans person or similar service, you could take your likeness and just pump out AI fakes of you all day to your audience.
Thankfully, so nobody else could do that, so you're safe.
So I just, it's a mess, man. It is a mess. I mean, it's a mess. Other tools,
and in addition, is that going to be a step up in morality of a population? Or a step down? If the girls can't pimp themselves in OnlyFans, but only because they, or boys, I suppose, I don't know. I don't know how to work these things. But not because they don't want to, but because
I don't know, man. It's getting really complicated to navigate this minefield of what's going on out there. You know, I've just my active non-participation in majority of the sector, it's like I can't really say what the logic is as you navigate it. Like, do you feel ripped off if you find out that the person that you're paying money to for some reason to watch them be naked sometimes is fake? Do you feel betrayed? Is that something you can demand your money back as fraudulent or something? And do they have to advertise that?
You developed an emotional connection there that allowed them to fleece you. And then it was like, no, it was actually an AI that you also will never see in real life.
As someone like Andrew Tate has perfected as a way of life in his educational systems where he teaches men how to live like him. Pretty much it's just a guy managing the chat conversations on those platforms anyway. You get people who pretend to be the chick and flirting with the men on the other side in order to get the men to shell up more money. Because you can
get an LLM to pretend to be the chick and managing the chats.
It's
both bad for the Romanian chick and for Andrew Tate. I don't know.
I have thankfully never spent a single dime sending anyone money for that kind of material. So it's all foreign to me.
Yeah,
it is all foreign to me. Other tools sometimes fail when a user touches their own face. When they do so, the software malfunctions and shows the real person underneath. In the demos, Hoation AI keeps the illusion going, though. Another demo video shows a realistic, albeit dewy-skinned Elon Musk and Jackie Chan. In a direct live demonstration with me over the messaging app Telegram, the Hoation AI technician showed in real time how the software can also make a subject's lips thicker or thinner, or their jawline sharper or more rounded. Now, Clavicular Alex, I think, can actually just skip all of the methamphetamine and the testosterone boost and just do this, since he's a streamer by primary trade, right? If he can just turn on the facial features to looks max his way artificially, I think it's just the same. I don't know why he actually has to be it in real life if it's all about
he would have
money.
to looksman or something. I don't know. It's very complicated.
The user interface of Hoation AI also lets customers adjust the size of their deepfake's nose, use an acne removal feature, and change the shape of their eyes. For an effective deepfake, some configuration may be required according to 404 Media's own tests. And Hoation AI may not just beat the human eye, but tools designed to detect deepfakes as well. Exception is a deepfake detection model, but in a paper published last June, researchers found it struggled to detect Croatian AI-generated deepfakes. While Exception hit 89.1% inaccuracy on the control stuff, it miscalculated almost 100% of the Croatian examples as authentic. Charles Frost, one of the authors of that paper, told 404 Media in an email. Croatian's work is shockingly convincing, especially with how it handles facial and body movements. There are now a variety of ways to produce deepfakes, but generally they work by training a machine learning model on images of a person's face, then mapping that face onto another face in a video, frame by frame, a process that could take seconds, minutes, and more depending on the method of how long the video is. Real-time deepfakes work similarly, but are more sophisticated because they have to track a face and map the deepfakes onto it moment to moment. So yeah, that's a nice little dystopia,
I just realized.
Yes.
Forget the hose for a second. This is how we do a video podcast. You realize?
Yes, Alex. I realize that we can deep fake ourselves into existence
being
as a podcast.
deep real. Yes, exactly. This is happening. We're there. We need to forget everything else. You've missed the angle.
I know, I understand. I apologize profusely. I just would like to point out, though, that with this ability to do, the deepfake, as they say, put someone else's face on your face, that Hannibal Lecter did it before it was cool. I would just like to point that out.
Right. Yes. Well, maybe not quite like that. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to finish this up here with some of my favorite AI dystopia aspects here. From 404 Media, people using AI to represent themselves in court are clogging the system. Now, this one touches my heart, Alex, because I have had the wonderful fortune recently of having to observe a case, a civil lawsuit in which both parties are using their respective LLMs to combat each other in their motions through court. It has been one of the joys of things that I have been working on. And so I am curious to wonder, to find out which one's LLM outcompetes the other. But the number of pro se legal cases, meaning trials where the defendant or plaintiff represent themselves in court without an attorney, have increased dramatically since the wide adoption of generative AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude, according to a preprint research paper. The authors of the paper, titled Access to Justice in the Age of AI, Evidence from U.S. Federal Courts, which is yet to undergo peer review, argue more people are representing themselves in court because they are able to use AI to do a lot of the work that previously required a lawyer. The authors, and Shah and Joshua Levy, also say that the pro se cases are heavier, meaning each case includes more motions and demand more work out of the judges and the justice system. I have observed that myself. Overall, they argue, the use of AI tools and the increase in pro se cases could put a new burden on the courts. Quote, if generative AI dramatically lowers the cost of represented litigation, the resulting surge in filings could overwhelm a system that depends on human judgment at every stage of adjudication, Shaw and Levy say in the paper. The paper draws on administrative records covering more than 4.5 million non-prisoner civil court cases between 2005 and 2026, and 46 million public access to court electronic records, document entries matching those cases. It found the share of pro se cases was pretty stable at 11% until 2022, after LLMs like ChatGPT became widely used, at which point it started to rise sharply up to 16.8% in 2025. This stability seems to reflect the structural barrier. For most people, self-representation is prohibitively hard, the paper says. Filing a civil complaint requires identifying the correct jurisdictional basis, pleading sufficient facts to survive a motion to dismiss, and navigating procedural requirements that vary by context and case types. The widespread public diffusion of capable LLMs changes that calculus. Without a law degree and at de minimis cost, any person with an internet connection can not only obtain interactive case-specific legal guidance, drafting complaints, identifying statutes, navigating procedure, but also generate passable legal documents, particularly so after the release of GPT-4 in March 2023. The researchers note that the paper is necessarily descriptive, meaning it assumes the rise is due to the prevalence of AI tools, but does not link individual cases to individual LLMs. Quote, we do not claim to identify the causal effect of GPT-4 on pro se filing, only that the observed time series is difficult to rationalize without generative AI playing a role. Now, again, as I've personally observed, this it is fairly frequent that you will be able to identify something generated by an LLM in these court papers, especially whenever someone who is clearly not an LLM responds by pointing out that the cases cited are fictitious, which is one of my favorite occurrences in these situations. There's a sprawling amount of identification of cases, and when you actually go research them, they don't exist or they apply to something else, which of course someone could do on themselves, but at the volume these things are pumped out, it is unlikely to be a human being at the helm. To support their argument, the researchers also used a random sample of 1,600 complaints drawn from the 8-year period between 2019, prior to the prevalence of generative AI, and 2026, which they ran through the AI detection software Pangram. They found a rise from essentially zero in the pre-AI period to more than 18% in 2026. Notably, it's not just that there are more pro se cases, but the intra-case activity for those cases, meaning the total volume of activity in those cases as measured by docket entries, filings, and motions, are up by 158% from the pre-AI period. This means the workload for courts could be even higher than it appears based on the rise in pro se cases alone. I can personally attest to that. That's my observation. Alex, have you interacted with civil law in any way in your time at Balena? Did you have to have lawyers on retainer or anything? Were you ever sued?
Yeah, we had our run-ins with the law. We didn't. It didn't ever go to court. But we, I mean, just even doing everything by the book requires lawyers because you've got big chunky documents to deal with between, VCs and whatnot. So I've spent my amount of time with lawyers. Yeah, but where are you going with this?
Well, as this article is talking about the pro se entries, into the civil law. So pro se is when you're representing yourself, and the barriers to entry on that are often high in the sense that it requires a person to file something that is, accepted by the courts, which with the LLMs, at least as a semi-procedural ability, you can do. You can look at examples of complaints and have an LLM mimic what a complaint looks like. And then the cost to the person filing pro se is somewhat negligible. So you create the complaint, and roughly speaking, you really just have to have the person that you're suing served. Okay, so for a couple $100s, you can hire professional process servers that will go out and find, provided you know the location of the person you're trying to sue, you hunt them down, the process servers serve them the papers, and now your lawsuit is underway. And the target of that lawsuit has a choice. They can either defend themselves pro se, or they can hire an attorney. And Alex, I'm sure that you have some experience with what attorneys might cost per hour, depending on the area and the geographic and expertise. Alex, that's
yep, a bunch.
So for let's say $500. So let's say $500, you could be a pro se litigant and set someone up for a minimum of $1,500 cost, just having a lawyer look at the case and possibly contemplate what the response could be. So there's a contention there. Low wage entrants to the legal system can impose high costs on the person that they are suing, which then in this era of LLMs can balance out with the person not wanting to expend the cost on the expense of attorneys, even though that might be strategically their best option. And they might just opt for the low cost LLMs as well, which is where you wind up in a situation where I'm watching, which is a lawsuit where you effectively have two pro se people battling each other out with their respective LLMs. And depending on who the victim is in this targeting, you could wind up having people expend larger amounts of resources of attorneys who might be on retainer as pro se litigants just start to eat away at their attorneys, their retainers' costs. So that's going to be interesting to see how that balances out, because in the state of New York, in the federal courts, Alex, they are very forgiving to pro se litigants for some reason, or pro se defendants too, I guess. But they will accept an exceptional amount of flaws in the motions and filings and give those people repeated attempts to take other swings at it. So they will say, hey, this wasn't filed properly, and they won't issue sanctions as easily as they might on an attorney. And so the LLMs being able to do voluminous swings at the ball, or as they might say, are able to just basically crowd it out and allow the system to tell them, try again. Okay. And they can just hit the try it again button basically until something sticks. It is rather perverse.
I'll happily take the other side of this, which is to say that one of my theses about AI, which I'm happy to see take shape, come to reality, really, is that the poor will be able to do what the rich can already do, right? So somebody who's rich can hound you with actual lawyers, right, and get what they want, and lots of them will do that. They don't give a shit. They can totally do, and they have done it for a long, long time. So now that procedure is getting democratized, and yes, it's flawed, and yes, it hallucinates, but those things will be fixed. I think we both agree.
So there's those things will be fixed to something. I'm curious to see the trajectory. Now, the democratization, I would quibble with. It's
not hard to put together a harness that will check the cases you're citing and check that they exist and they say what you want, for example, right? Like this is very fixable. You and me could fix it today. I'm sure, in a general way, it would be fixed.
See, I'm usually a under promise, over deliver type of fella, but we could fix it today sounds like an over promise to me, Alex. I don't know if that's just your marketing strategy.
We can fix it tomorrow. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It is the weekend, Alex. It is the weekend. We know. All right. Well, so the democratization aspect, there's truth.
But let me just complete the story here, which is that. So this is being covered from an angle of like, oh my God, isn't it so bad that the courts are getting overwhelmed? Well, I'm sorry, but like you've set up a system that takes like an inordinate amount of paper. If it was a startup, it would have been streamlined, eons ago. The requirement for a lawyer, especially an expensive lawyer, is a flaw of the system by itself, right? And if you told me that we could, put a lot of this and even like potentially for certain kinds of cases, including the judge side of this, into LLMs that are appropriately benchmarked and whatever, and senior panel of judges is judging whether the LLMs are judging judgingly or whatever. I'm not too sure this is a bad thing. All told, after the teething is done with.
So the ways it might fix itself are stand to be seen at the moment. The democratization aspect, I have some sympathy for. I appreciate that view, and I'm not necessarily counter to it. However, in the interim, Alex, I think the chaos is not going to.
We will have material for the podcast.
Yes, this is true. This is true. But I think so. The ability to, the democratization aspect that you're talking about, is not symmetric only in its application. So if you were saying like, okay, the rich have always been able to, throw a lawsuit at the poor and intimidate them. Now the poor can throw the lawsuit at the rich. Well, most people
or
are
each
not
other.
Necessarily exactly. The poor are just throwing it at the poor. Okay. And so
I understand. So I didn't say that they can throw it back. I said the poor are gaining the capability. How they choose to use it.
Yes.
Yes. Entirely.
And yes. And so, but now you see, the thing is that in the short term, let's say until the corrective measures that evolve over time are enacted in the way that whatever lessons need to be learned are learned, lawsuits can actually go on for 3, 4, 5 years, where just now people's time all wasted, other court cases held up that are, let's say, operating on the more legitimate playing field because the judges that we have in these district courts are now spending time looking at AI slop, largely speaking.
Yeah, but again, this is not something that is false for the cases that rich people could bring until, yesterday. They could tie up the system in a 4-year lawsuit over whose dog sat on whose side of the fence, right?
Sure.
It's just that now this is opening up to everybody else. And yes, it is a problem again. But if it is a problem now, it has been a problem before. What we're realizing is that the resources of the courts are pay for play, which, you know, they're not supposed to be. But here we are. Right. I've long thought that a way to deal with the issues around courts, some of the issues at least, is that instead of paying your lawyer, what you can do is put money into a kitty that both sides can use to pay lawyers. If you see what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to pay, you can pay for a better trial. You can't pay for a asymmetrically better lawyer for yourself. You know, so I don't know how that would apply here. But well, at the very least, I will say it's a really big problem that how asymmetric the courts are, especially because again, you can pay for a better lawyer, and that is, you know, that lawyer is paid to get you off, essentially, right? To get you to win, and they do succeed at getting you to win more often than you otherwise would. So that is a problem. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, don't think about like, okay, well, sure, think about it, but weigh how bad this might become with AIs, you know, and shittifying everything and whatever. I hear it, but like also consider how shitty the system already is, right? And how asymmetrically shitty it is.
Well, you were correct in one way about the democratization that occurred, because now everyone is able to shitify, including the pros. As New York Times says, AI hallucinations created errors in court filing, top law firm says. An elite Wall Street firm has apologized to federal judge for submitting a court filing replete with errors created by artificial intelligence, including hallucinations and fabricated case citations. The AI-generated errors came from a recent motion in U.S. bankruptcy court in Manhattan and were discovered by lawyers from an opposing firm. Andrew Dietrich, apartment at Sullivan and Cromwell, wrote in a letter to Judge Martin Glenn in April 18th. We deeply regret that this error occurred, Mr. Dietrich wrote. The firm provided a ledger of the errors, which spanned 3 pages and total around 3 dozen. A number of them involved the citation of seemingly imagined passages from real cases. Sullivan and Cromwell is one of the oldest and most prestigious law firms in the country. It's representing President Trump in several appeals, including his criminal conviction in 2024 in a case that stemmed from a hush money payment to a porn star. Jay Clayton, now the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, was counsel and formerly partner of the firm. The apology revealed the latest embarrassing blunder for lawyers found to have used AI in crafting erroneous arguments. The legal profession is undergoing a reckoning over the growing and widespread use of AI, which is luring lawyers dealing with voluminous research, even as it is a propensity to spit out legal falsehoods. A spate of cases in recent years has illuminated the dangers that using AI poses to lawyers. In 2023, a federal judge in Manhattan fined 2 lawyers $5,000 after they submitted a brief of made-up cases concocted by ChatGPT. The American Bar Association has instructed lawyers to exercise caution when posing prompts to AI models or retrieving results. Mr. Dietrich wrote in his letter that the firm's policies governing the use of AI were not followed in preparing the motion. It's not clear which AI tools or programs were used by Sullivan and Cromwell in generating the errors. A spokesperson for the firm declined to comment. The news of the letter was reported earlier by Reuters. Now, Alex, we have one final story here today.
No, wait, Gator. I have a first for our podcast. I believe it's time for us to coin a term.
Okay.
So I asked Opus to give me a combination term for democratization and shittification. And it came up with demcrapification, which is amazing. Now everybody gets shittified. Rich and poor alike. I think this is a story that Bernie Sanders would be in favor of. What do you think?
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Demcrapification. Got it. Excellent. Well, here's a story, Alex. Here's a story, the last story for the day on the traces of AI dystopia, that was on the cutting room floor for several weeks. Okay, so this is something that I was unable to get to, even though it has been bouncing around the stack for ages. Alex, I think I think this one will tickle you pink, as they say. New York Times, this is what will ruin public opinion polling for good. A recent Axios story on maternal health policy referred to findings that a majority of people trusted their doctors and nurses. On the surface, there's nothing unusual about that. What wasn't originally mentioned, however, was that these findings were made up. Clicking through the links revealed, as did the subsequent editor's note and clarification by Axios, that the public opinion poll was a computer simulation run by the artificial intelligence startup Aru. No people were involved in the creation of these opinions. The practice Aru used is called silicon sampling, and it is suddenly everywhere. The idea behind silicon sampling is simple and tantalizing because large language models can generate responses that emulate human answers. Polling companies see an opportunity to use AI agents to simulate survey responses at a small fraction of the cost and time required for traditional polling. Phone polling has become exponentially harder. Web polling is too uncertain. Silicon sampling removes the messy, costly part of asking people what they think. But this undermines the very idea of the opinion poll. Public opinion is used to guide policy, politics, and social science, and it has value only insofar as it summarizes the beliefs and opinions of actual humans. Using simulations of human opinions in place of the real thing only worsen our broken information system and sow distrust. We should not turn to an artificial society to try to understand our real one. The journalist Walter Lippmann, in his influential 1922 book, The Public Opinion, wrote that humans form pictures in their heads of societies they live in. He called these pictures fictions and pseudo-environments, arguing that a democracy needed tools to fix those pictures and that opinion polling could serve as that role. Surveys would never be perfect, but Lippmann thought they were critical for getting us closer to an accurate sense of the will of the people. But polling has proved daunting over the years. To have a small margin of error, polling requires gathering responses from a large and accurate sample of the population. But pollsters have a hard time reaching people. Some people might be too busy to talk on the phone or fill out internet surveys. To make up for these issues, pollsters lean on statistical models to account for variables that can skew results. That process is imperfect and messy. Let's say a pollster wants to learn how many people in the United States are in favor of a certain policy measure, but the pollster ends up with a survey that includes 80% Republicans and only 20% Democrats. The pollster may think that in reality the country is closer to 50-50 split, so the results are rebalanced to reflect the perceived reality. This means that the percentages you read as the results of the polling are the output of the model, not the numbers from the actual survey data. The problem is that every model is designed with its own biases because pollsters disagree about which variables deserve more weight. In 2016, the New York Times chief political analyst Nate Cohn ran an experiment in which he gave 5 pollsters the same election poll data. Mr. Cohn found a 5% range of differences among what the 5 pollster models returned. The range was larger than the margin of error typically associated with random sampling, meaning the modeling assumptions were meaningfully skewing the results. This is alarming because it suggests that pollsters can use modeling to nudge polls in a certain direction and influence public opinion itself, rather than to merely report on what the public thinks. Now, Alex, I think in some cases that this is sort of tying a nice bow around the whole farce. We already talked about just a little bit ago about the OnlyFans models using AI to generate more sexy content for their people. And we know that places like Meta are propping up AI Instagram accounts and things like that on purpose, and that AI simulated people are basically going to run Meta's platforms entirely as the human targets actually flee. So at some point, we will just have the AI citizenry faking their social media so that the AI pollsters can ask the AI simulated poll questions, and we can just figure out what the... I think that this is going to be a nice typo for democracy here, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's pretty over. I mean, if this is not an example of democratification, I don't know what is. So there you go. Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, in case anybody's listening to us for actual life advice, I will return to my rule of thumb, which is the more layers of abstraction there are between whatever number you're being sold and, underlying reality, the more fucked it is. Like, the more fucked with it is, rather. So While this, I'm sure a formal mathematical argument can be made that demonstrates that under perfect conditions, it can be informative. I will informative them that conditions are never ideal, so they can go fuck themselves. How's that?
Well, how about we try in the next presidential election to hold some simulations inside of The Sims 4? I think we can get a lot of the add-ons and extensions to have a really robust polling policy to get the opinions of our Sims in Sims 4. Do you think that's an experiment we can
why
conduct
not at this point, right?
See how it competes? All right. Well, we can run experiments in Sim 4 and see how it competes with the real world's modeling.
Yeah.
That concludes.
It's amazing. Like, I do wonder often what polling has done to our society broadly. Like, it is a thing that did not exist, and its very existence has changed politics, to a crazy degree that we perceive, which is that we now go into an election with a seeming, as far as we know, a good sense of what might happen on the other side, which normally, there was a lot more room for doubt previously. So I guess, again, democratization, previously, polling firms could prepare shitty polls. Now everyone can. Yay.
Yes, you democratize the polling apparatus by having everyone have their own simulator.
There you go. We figured it out. You were correct, though. It did tickle me. This is quite something.
Good. That concludes our show for today, Alex. This one was hard to procure. I've been busy this weekend here, and I had to put this show together sort of by the skin of my teeth. But I think I put together a decent show for everyone. So hopefully my tight timeline did not disrupt the flow. Thank you for joining, Alex, again. And next week, I hope to have more additions on the capabilities of the video feed. I'm working on getting it to identify which one of us is speaking so that it can add highlights to the video, so those watching the video feed can see which one of us is talking with a little bit more animated finesse.
We are one very thin line away from animated avatars of ours talking, so I'm happy.
The gradual progress, little by little, Alex. Let's creep there. Let's do it in an agile development format. I'm not a fan of waterfall. The requirements always change, and you always get scope creep, and the product never launches. So let's just do this in an agile-like way. And agile just being whatever I come up with on a week-to-week basis. So.
Excellent.
Thank you for.
I'll make us rich. I told you this. This is a product.
All right. Well, everybody have a wonderfully dumb week, and I will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.